Hey, I'm your host, Anthony Tank Mansfield. With you today is
Marco
and
Julia.
And this is What You Into.
What you into? What you into?
Listener, can you feel it right now? Just the electricity and the power of two podcasts merging together into one in one basement.
It's podcastception is what it really is. You're doing a podcast with podcasters who do a podcast about podcasts. Like, I don't know how this can get any more into itself.
Well, when you review the episode.
Yes, true. That is always
Yeah.
that is always one of the weirdest things for us to do, or when we're on another random podcast and it's okay. Now we have to talk about ourselves. Talking about ourselves.
It's happened a few times.
Yeah, not sure I like it.
It's
weird.
It's fun to do them.
Yeah.
Recording with somebody else.
Absolutely. Talking about ourselves, though, I'm still not a fan of talking about myself.
It's hard, right?
It is.
It is. I don't mind answering questions about myself if asked, but I'm also not one to be like, I'm the fucking man first off, and let me tell you about all the shit I'm doing. And I'm just like, no.
Like, oh gosh.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
right.
yeah. But if you put me in a thing where you're like, "Hey, I'm gonna ask you a question," I'm like, "Oh, I'll give you an answer."
Sure,
You know?
100%.
Yeah, but
100%.
yeah, it is weird when you have to like get in that spot where it's like, "Oh, we're talking about me."
Right. It's like, I'm not good at taking compliments, and I know
Yeah.
that, but it's even weirder when you're recapping yourself. Like, oh, so I said this. I'm like, I already said it. You're either going to listen to me say it the first time or not. You don't need to hear me tell you that I said this thing.
Yeah, but it's still one of those things where we know that for content purposes, we still need to make sure that we're doing our part and making sure that we're covering that in some way.
Yeah. Even if it is us covering ourselves.
Yeah.
Well, and if you podcast enough, I think it just over time, your natural personality and who you are is going to come out just because you're going to have conversations. And, it's really hard to keep the mask on full time if you have a podcast. 'Cause
True.
That's part of the experience is you get to know the hosts of shows and stuff like that. And you get to know their personalities. And it's really hard to cover that up for long term.
Yeah, and I think that one of the pluses to the few times that we have talked about kind of ourselves on another podcast is the fact that sometimes I will think about a response or a different frame of mind after the fact. Mm-hmm. And so when we're recapping ourselves talking with, the Gnarly Gnome or Shift Beers or whoever it might be, then it's like, hey, I should have said this. And that gives me an opportunity to kind of continue that conversation a little bit within that recap.
Yeah.
It does give us a little bit of a broader explanation, and sometimes maybe even a mulligan on something that maybe we said.
I wish I had that ability sometimes on stuff I say as I'm listening back. I'm like, I really want to cut this out, but if I do, it's going to fuck up the other person's story. So I'm going to leave this in, but damn, do I sound stupid here.
Oh, I've had plenty of those moments where I'm like, why that joke that I made? No. But like you said, I can either try to find a way to cut it so that somehow the conversation still feels like it flows and that there's not like some weird gap. Or I just leave it in and be like, this is who I am and this is what I said. And it's awkward as hell, but there it is.
We've also played around with, we had, I don't know, how many was it, Julia? Test pods that we recorded.
Like 6,
it was
I think.
6 test pods that we recorded before we actually released the first one. And the first one is probably far different than the one that we put out last week. Hopefully in a good way.
Yeah.
But at least from a chemistry standpoint, we have, I feel like we've always had that a chemistry, but understanding that chemistry and then the format and not really predicting where we're going to go because there's not too much of that. But there's been evolutions, and we've tried things and it didn't really work out that well. And there's some things that we did that we want to bring back. And there's some things that even from tests that we did that we just haven't found the right spot to put them back in. And conceptually, the podcast had a lot of different segments that were going to be in it that actually just could not happen in the short way. And also too much editing, even if we did it the way we wanted to do that. It's just too much.
It didn't feel organic. It didn't feel like a conversation, which is what we wanted to have. We wanted to have a conversation with each other, but also be talking to whoever's listening about Cincinnati Craft Beer Podcasts. And when we tried to do segments of things, like, oh, now we're going to do the beer news segment, or the, this, one of the things we, I think, did a few times that never really stuck was this episode is not sponsored by, and then just some joke about a local brewery. And it just never felt like it was an organic part of the conversation. So we just stopped doing it. We didn't even really talk about it. It was just one of those, we just stopped saying it.
I agree with everything you're saying. I think that's just, I think it's part of having a show is like you figure out what works and what doesn't work. You like cut the fat, where it's like, this didn't land, or I don't like the way that worked, or having things that you either bring in or out, depending on who the guest is or how many guests you have. There's just a variety of things where you have to learn how to host a show,
right?
And that's not easy because there's not really a guidebook for it. You can kind of listen to other people, but until you start doing it and you get in situations, you don't really know how to handle it.
Well, but even to add on to that, what works for someone else, like how you have the intro bumper that you do, that's, kind of peek behind the curtains, is actually separate from the rest of the episode, where we just hit record and we just go with it. I don't know if we tried to do like an intro before our episodes and then kind of stop and then start the main episode. I don't know that it would flow. Like, it works amazing for your podcast. I don't think it would work for us. I don't think that the vibe that we're going for, or the way that we want things to transition from the moment you hit play to the moment the recording stops, it just doesn't work the same. So like you said, there's no guidebook because everything's going to work differently for everyone else.
Exactly.
And I love that.
Yeah, I do too. And with our pre-production meetings, we recap very minimally. So it's, what did we listen to? And we don't really go into too many of the bullet points about what was in each podcast, because we want those to be saved for when the record button's pushed. So it's, yes, there are notes, because without the notes, I probably would be staring at each other and just not remembering anything at all.
Exactly, yeah.
But with the notes, we don't really discuss those things in the pre-production meeting, so to speak. The pre-production meeting is really us getting together, having a beverage. It doesn't always have to be, craft beer. It doesn't even have to be and have alcohol in it. But
some of these 90-degree days, I'm like, I just want like a water, or give me a Coke, or just something.
Can I have an iced coffee? Just something.
Right.
Sure.
Exactly.
Sure. Or soda water with lime. Put a little simple in it. Tastes great. That's pretty tasty too. But we'll get together, talk about the weekend. A lot of times that circles around beer and what we listen to. And we let the wheel decide what we're gonna discuss when. And it's always fun. Recently we've had guests and the Gnarly Gnomes popped up quite often recently, which is fantastic. It's very welcomed, and there is an open invitation. By the way, there was an open invitation to everybody who's been on our podcast.
Yes.
And some people have taken us up on that.
Yes.
So the Brews Travelers Outcast podcast popped up one time.
Shift Beers
popped up one time.
We had Craft Parenting Podcast show
Yep,
up.
Craft Parenting Pod individually, because they can't go somewhere together unless they
someone has to
plan
watch
it.
the kids.
They have to plan it several weeks in advance. Has to go in the Google Calendar, and then you will get both of them. But usually it's just one or the other, Joe or Caroline.
I pop every time I hear it. All right, well, look, you two, we're covering a lot of ground really quickly here.
Oh, yeah.
Let's put a pin in this for just 1 second because I didn't even get to do a proper damn intro.
It's true.
It's Marco and Julia, and they're here from Truth, Beer, and Podsequences. And this is also the part that I'm really bad at. Anytime I have to read off the actual phone, and I'm like, I got to get this right. Those are the moments where my butthole gets really tight and I get really tense because I'm like, I can't fuck this up.
Because we will recap this.
Yeah.
And we will make fun of you for not knowing the name of our show.
I know. Well, it's one of those things where it's like, you know it, and then you're like, I got to read just to make sure.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's like, okay. We got it.
Pen to paper. I found that works so much better than on a screen, even though you're typing it.
Yeah.
If
I
you
think
really want to kind of click with something, it's got to be like handwritten. And I don't know why, but at least for me.
And even the gnome, you catch him when he talks about our pod. He goes, "Truth, Beer, Podsequences." Mm-hmm. He doesn't put
Just say
the
Truth Beer
and.
Pod. It's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
And that the name came out of back when we were getting together and vetting through, were we going to even do this?
Mm-hmm.
And so we tossed around a couple names. Nothing was really the front runner, I don't believe.
Well, this one was pretty early on. Like, I want to say it was one that we threw out during Chat in the Weekly Pint, which was where the whole idea of the podcast was born. And it's like, oh, that's a terrible name. We should use it. And then we actually got together and went, okay, so what should we actually call this? And eventually just circled back around. It's like, you know what? This Truth, Beer, and Podsequences is actually...
Yeah. I think my contribution
one.
was just the beer. I think you were Truth and Podsequences. And I was like, okay, but nobody knows that it has anything to do with beer. So we should put beer in there somewhere. And then I was like, okay, that's good enough.
Yeah.
I just always call it a TBP.
Yeah.
Like,
That's what I do too. I just refer,
I love like shorthand stuff. And,
Yes.
and so that's one of those things where I'm like, just like TBP. Like, boom,
Yeah.
there it is.
Oh, what's your podcast? I'm like Truth Beer Pod.
Yeah.
Just look that up, all smashed together.
Yep, you'll find it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and if you want to find it online, listener, you can find it by going to truthbeerpod.com. You can also follow them on Instagram, truthbeerpod, and you can follow Julia at Julia in the Natty with an I, not two T's in a Y like some people call it.
No. I'm not a beer. I'm not a light, watery, yellow, sparkly thing. So yeah, NATI, the way the natty is supposed to be spelled.
Marco flies under the cover of social media. You cannot
is.
find him out there in the world.
No.
I'm not on Instagram. I'm not on Instagram. I'm not on Snapchat. I'm not on Threads. I'm just
Good for you.
old school. I'm not on Blue Sky. I'm not on Truth. But I'm on X.
Are you on it?
He's on
I'm
X.
X in Facebook.
And until you said that, I was going to be like, if you weren't on social media, I was going to treat it like the feral kid at the end of the Road Warrior, where it's like the warrior of the wasteland only lives in our memories now. Where
Yes.
like,
Do you know that?
pretty much
I
Marco,
fell
yeah.
asleep. I did not fall asleep. I watched The Road Warrior last night.
Hell yeah,
I
dude.
didn't go to bed till it was about 2:30. But yeah,
it's top 5 movie for me of all time. I love
Yeah.
The Road Warrior. One of those movies that has definitely, every time they improve the quality of the picture, it makes the movie even better.
Really?
Because like I got the Blu-ray now and I want to get the 4K, but like you getting to watch that movie in like 5.1 surround sound is incredible, and just everything in the movie is a practical effect, So it's like dudes really like getting launched off of motorcycles and shit, and
Right.
cars really wrecking. It's a great movie.
it was one of my favorites from growing up, childhood. Which most of my favorites are going to be from back then. I mean,
It's been imprints on you.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
I agree, and there was also something too though with like storytelling of that time period where like it wasn't dumbed down for kids. So like if you
No.
were a kid, you were kind of leveling up to it. Whereas I feel like today a lot of stuff is like the Marvel movies where it's like, well, we gotta get the funny joke in here, and then here's all the CGI stuff, and then here's the monster, and
Well,
it's kind of the
here's
same.
the joke that will hit at the, higher PG-13, not quite our level
Mm-hmm.
for the adults watching. But we've got to make sure everything still stays at that between PG-13 level.
Yeah.
As a kid, you're watching these movies and it's kind of like, okay, you don't realize what you're not getting. You rewatch it as an adult and you're like, oh my God, Animaniac, not a movie, but just
Yeah.
as a cartoon. Rewatching some of those episodes as an adult, I'm like, how the hell did they get away with this as a kid's cartoon?
It was the 90s.
Yeah, yeah. Enough said.
Or maybe earlier.
Yeah.
Well,
Or-
Animaniacs.
Animaniacs,
was
but
the
no,
90s,
same
but-
thing,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
It
when
was-
we were growing up, it was just
Well, and maybe it was because like there was bigger fish to fry at the time because like Beavis and Butthead broke parents' brains,
True.
and like South Park was the thing that
Ren and Stimpy was very
Yeah.
on that line.
moms hated Ren and Stimpy.
Oh yes.
Moms are not a fan of Ren and Stimpy.
No.
They walk in the room and they see like a close up of like a macro close up of like Stimpy's tongue and it's covered in bumps and hairs and shit. Yeah,
Yep.
not a fan. Not a fan.
No.
So yes, I am on X.
Man, what?
So awful.
It's
It's terrible.
why would you do that?
So
to
stupid.
tweet something like the
Not to be
original
on X, but to
concept
change it to X.
is an entire verb. It is part
Yes.
of like of social nomenclature now to be like you
Exactly.
tweet something, you
Exactly.
don't X something.
Exactly.
What the fuck is he doing?
100%. Yeah, that was my thing as well. I'm just like, you literally have like your company has language that's now part of like international lexicon.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you tweet stuff, you retweet, all this shit, and you're just like, I want it to be X. And it's
Yeah.
like, why are you being an edgy
can't-
12-year-old? Like, what are you doing?
Well, there's very few things that you think about that have actually changed that way. Every time I go to Costco and buy the giant thing of toilet paper, I always wonder to myself, when do we change the name of toilet paper to bath tissue? I do not take a bath with this tissue. Do not take a bath with the tissue. This is the wrong thing.
That would be the
You
worst
take a
thing to
bath with the tissue and then you're calling a plumber. It's not going to work. So, but there's very few things. Like, I get it that a Kleenex is a facial tissue.
Yeah.
I get all that. But you change Twitter to X. Why? Because you can. Now, maybe this is some long play that we don't have, that this foresight in. No, I think it's just
He's an idiot.
a rich guy doing stupid rich guy stuff.
Yeah. Yep. And this is the world we live in. So if you want
At least we have beer.
we do have beer. We do have beer. And let's talk about beer.
Let's do it.
So let's talk about let's talk specifically about your podcast search. So to kind of break down the show for the listener, like you guys have a podcast, but you're listening to podcasts, you're reviewing podcasts.
A podcast about not even reviewing. We're the joke that I kind of made is we are the aggregation destination for all of these Cincinnati craft beer podcasts.
That rolls off the tongue.
No, it does not. I just said it enough to where it actually sounds
Spell
like
it
I know
now.
what I'm saying. No, you don't know. No, we'll leave that for what you into after dark for me to try to spell words. But no, the idea was it was mostly Marco's idea that there were enough local Cincinnati-based craft beer podcasts. People were like, I don't have time to listen to all this stuff because there could be anywhere from 1 hour of content to 10 hours of content in just that small little niche every week.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, we're already listening to them anyway. And Marco's like, someone should do a podcast just recapping these. And that was the initial thought. Like, yeah, we'll just kind of do just a news recap of, hey, this is what each show talked about. And then we're like, well, no, we got to make fun of them.
Yeah.
There's got to be more to it than this. Like we started with, was it Chase from Saunders Stories that we said didn't exist at first? Or Luke? It was Saunders Stories that someone we said, we don't think they actually exist because they were on the first few episodes and then they just weren't able
They
to be
disappeared.
on.
They Jimmy
And we're
Hoffed.
like, right. And so we're like, we got to make this funny.
Right.
And then it turned into the Daily Show of podcast recap where, yeah, we let you know what's going on, but we're not going to tell you everything. And we're going to make up some stuff or kind of stretch the truth a little bit to make people go,
Yeah, I don't think we've ever outright lied.
No.
That's my
kinda-
that's my truth. Although maybe some would argue
Yeah.
otherwise. But yeah,
that's the consequences.
yeah, it's partly because we want you to be interested in it. It's partly because we just want to poke fun. Is
Well, and,
really what it
and to
is.
kind of cap that off, one of our main goals when we talked about what do we want to get out of this, we want people to listen to these other shows. We love what the Gnarly Gnome is doing, what Shift Beers was doing, Saunders Stories, what you into, because we've touched on a number of your episodes. There are enough out there that we want to kind of promote these other local podcasts so that people know what's happening in the Cincinnati craft beer world.
At the time, Fretboard was doing Fretboard TV.
Fretboard TV,
Yeah.
yep.
There were a bunch of other ones, and then we try also to, if we catch wind that another one is local about craft beer or somebody in craft beer, like we did. What was it from Northern Kentucky?
Oh yeah, the Northern
something-
Kentucky Commerce Association or something.
Yeah.
They have a podcast. They talk to Beerkus, and so we went. That's in that Cincinnati sphere.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about it. I still subscribe to them, but I pretty much archive every episode that's not beer related because it's just not in our wheelhouse.
And there's some
national ones, too,
Some
that have come
larger.
out.
I mean, I guess all of us are national in a way, but there's some national beer writers have podcasts that we'll cover if we see that something in the news is they're talking about it locally, or they have a person from the local beer scene on. We'll listen and recap that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's that we're like kind of the way I look at your show is like kind of like Sports Center on a NFL Sunday where you review all the games, and like you said, it's got a pinch daily show in there. It's like, but we're also going to like poke fun, crack jokes, and it's going to be a hang. And then I do like the fact that not only do you capture the local stuff, but like you said, Marco, like, you know, if something pops up from Cincinnati on a national level, you'll also bring that into the conversation as well. So people that would normally maybe miss that episode just because they didn't know about it, luckily you guys are there to plunk that out of the waters and be like, hey, this exists too.
And I'm sure there's plenty that we miss. Like, I'm sure, I mean,
There has to be,
we
and
have
I would
full-time
love
jobs.
to know about that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what
And
we always
yes,
say.
we do. We have full-time jobs. At the time when we started this podcast, I had three
jobs that you were trying to do.
And so the time to listen to it is a lot of times it has to be found, but it's okay because I want this content,
Right.
and so that's okay for me. And you know, we do get into some of the deeper topics because Julia just really is passionate about the local craft beer scene and craft beer, and myself as well, because of the time I spent in the business and the time I spent trying to get in the business. So and now being full time in the business, so it's a really fun passion project for us that, you know, we're just happy to keep doing. We meet some really fantastic people. We get to sit down and have some really fun conversations, and hopefully we're doing some part in talking about this craft beer scene that people from not just inside the market but outside the market are going to have the opportunity to listen to, and hopefully confirm to them if they have, I've been to Asheville, I've been to Portland, should I go to Cincinnati? Well,
Absolutely.
maybe listening to us can give you some sort of insight into why you should come to Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I hope it does do that, because I do think that this is a great brewery town that has great beer, and it's cool that if there is a way for people to get it, you know, from outside the region, because I know as like somebody who all my vacations for the most part are based around beer. Like if me and my wife are going somewhere, it's going to have good breweries. We're going to go eat. We're going to go drink, and it's sometimes hard to discover what's good in another city, you know? So you have to rely on stuff like Reddit, like, and try to like, okay, what is the local beer scenes Reddit, or is there a Facebook group or something? And so to have a resource like this, where it's like, oh, you can just listen to a podcast. It's like, oh, this is way easier, because then I don't have to like really search around. I can just like pop it in my ears and see what's going on.
Or even if you're not sure, listening to us do our thing, go, Cincinnati sounds like a cool, you know, beer town to go to, because that's really not, we're not trying to promote Cincinnati as a beer town. We're trying to promote the other podcasters and what they're doing. But
they
hopefully
talk about that.
exactly, they go, okay, that was a really interesting conversation that they talked about on this episode of Craft Parenting Podcast about their visit to, you know, Moeller Brew Barn, just to use that as an example.
Right.
I'm going to listen to that episode and go, you know what? They have these other episodes.
what?
Let's listen to these other things. What? And from there decide, Cincinnati does sound like the place I need to visit for a brand new beer scene that I haven't been a part of yet.
And also we way back with Fretboard TV, but now there are a few more YouTube shows that are actual video productions.
Yeah.
Which is changing our format a little bit
Which
too.
yes, which is changing our format as
Yeah.
well. You know, one that I didn't even know about until last week was Adam Makes Beer. So
Yeah.
Adam from the brewer from Cartridge. I mean, I sat down and ripped off probably 6 or 8 of his, because
Videos,
most
yeah.
of his, and that's the name of Adam Makes Beer. Most of his are short 6-minute to 10-minute episodes. He's got one that was around 20, 25 minutes. But for me, coming from the brewing background, actually being a brewer, his stuff was really interesting to me. But then I started watching. Initially, the first couple episodes, I was like, well, "This is pretty cool." I know most of this. I did most of this, and then I started watching. I'm like, man, this guy's got commercials through his stuff. I'm like, that's awesome for him.
Yeah,
like he's got commercials. Like I mean, you got to get to a certain place to have commercials on YouTube, I would imagine.
Do you see your podcast as like a fan or fandom podcast where you're like support, because it sounds like you're supporting a lot of other people and a lot of other things,
Yeah.
and you're like, I love this thing, look how cool this is.
I've never thought of it that way, but it fits.
I was super awkward when I met Brett from Urban Artifact. And I don't really get awkward. Well, let me take that back. I'm an awkward person. I'm an awkward person, so I can be awkward. But I felt weird, the interaction I had with Brett. Sorry, Brett. But I felt weird because I really enjoyed the content that he was creating. I unfortunately can't drink the product that he produces, but I respect it immensely for what it is. And so I was really kind of excited to meet him, and I was like, "Hey, how you doing? How you doing?" And it was just like, "Yeah," and like, "I know you do this thing," and "Yeah, you do this thing," and it was like, "All right, cool. It's nice to meet you, sir." And left. And so it was just weird.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we're just people, right? And
But in a way, I think that calling what we do kind of a small fandom does kind of fit, because if you look at, I apologize in advance for this one, but using, say, the supernatural fandom as the first thing that popped into my head, that fandom is making up their own stories about the supernatural world, things that aren't even in the actual sphere of what the show was ever going to be. We kind of do that a little bit with some of the not lies that we say about the podcast, but the way when we stretch the truth of some of our recaps, we're kind of creating this other little side story to this show that doesn't actually exist. You know, Brian being a button.
right.
You know, what were some of the other ones? You know, the gnome living out in Hamilton. We are
yeah.
kind of creating in our own little fandom world of Cincinnati craft beer podcasters their own little sub stories that then other podcasters and other people that we talk to that listen to our show start referring to, and it kind of becomes, you know, the unofficial, you know, air quotes truth of,
Right.
of these things, which everyone knows, you know, has, you know, a full shaker full of salt, not just a grain of salt, as I like to say.
I really can't believe that I got one of my buddies with one of them. And I'll tell the story. I'll leave his name out.
All right.
But I was talking with my buddy, and he's like, "Yeah, I listen to the podcast. I listen to one about Delgardo's cannolis that was with the Brews Travelers, the
Hustle and Brews. Yeah,
Hustle
Matt
and Brews
Damaris, yeah.
podcast with Matt Damaris. And I said in the podcast that Delgardo is Italian for guardian of the deli, because the deli is such an important thing in Italian culture.
The
Now,
prosciutto,
who would
yeah.
believe
I
him?
almost said prosecco, but I guess that kind of fits.
But
too.
he did. And he's like, I learned something. And I was like, dude,
What did you
I
learn from us?
I totally made that up. Are you kidding? Who
Yeah.
didn't know that I made that up?
And so when some people ask us, so was that true about this? I'm kind of like, I don't know if I'm supposed to like continue on with that. Do I keep playing that, you know, that little game, or do I just nah, man, we were just fucking with you. I don't know what to do when that happens.
I'll be honest, with like Italians and Catholicism, and there's a saint for fucking everything.
Right.
Like,
it
absolutely.
tracks.
it's like, it's
It
not too
tracks.
hard to be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
I just thought it was, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's
Yes,
even some,
yeah.
because since Marco and I don't really cover the things that we're going to like stretch the truth on,
Yeah.
sometimes I'll say something and then like we'll hit a break and Marcus like, shit, did they say that and I miss it? And I'm just like, no, I made that shit up. We're like, okay, that worked. That flowed perfectly well. So I guess, yeah, we are our own little fandom, even if it's just the two of us that are part of it.
And from now on, I'm going to tell people there is a guardian of the Gabagool.
There has to be. How can there not be?
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
100%.
That's it.
Oh my God.
Well, how do you two ingest these podcasts? Like, is this something where like you go home and you put it on a sound system? Are you listening in the car? Do you pop in headphones and listen while you work? Like, how are you ingesting all this content weekly?
I will take time in the car. I do have about a 30-minute drive to work, so I take time in the car. But it starts most of the time. So a typical cadence Monday morning when I get up, get my coffee, I'll have a podcast or two to listen to. So I'll start with that, and then on to the next one that came out on Monday. And so we have a cutoff time for what we're going to talk about when we meet typically on Tuesday. Mm-hmm. It has to come out before the weekly pint, which is usually around 9:30ish on Monday.
Right. Which is just to throw out the promotion, the Gnarly Gnomes live show that he does on Facebook. I think it streams also on YouTube, on Twitch, on I think one or two other platforms. Yeah.
So actually, what's happening is Monday is essentially the end of our recap week. Mm-hmm. So we start anything that comes out Tuesday. We're listening to those to recap
the following week.
Following week. So I'll take time before I go into work listening to them, and usually it's on my phone or in the car. So all of you podcasts out there, you don't have to put the vision in your mind. I don't play them while I'm in the shower. Although, I mean, if that's your thing, I mean,
sure, why
cool.
not? Whatever.
I mean, listening to podcasts
For me,
in the
it's
shower.
it's too loud.
I can't. It's yeah.
I got the fan going in. I got the water going. I just can't hear it.
Well, I'm in there to do one thing. It's like you shower, you get in, you get out. Like, I don't spend more time in the bathroom than I need to. So.
But
Or even like shower beers are weird because I'm like, I'm not
I love a good shower
just
beer.
standing in there.
I love it. Oh,
I can't. I've tried.
Sister,
like after
this is where
mowing
you
the
and me
yard,
differ. Because usually I'm pretty quick, but if there's a shower beer, I'm taking my
Can you
time.
do that
I got a little ledge in there. It's great.
Nice.
The wife actually put a beer coaster in the. It's like this little.
Is it
Like a
called a
jacuzzi?
jacuzzi?
Yeah.
Jacuzzi,
Yeah. It's this little
nice.
gray thing. It's right there. Just pop the beer right
stick it
there.
in.
You hang out. So yeah, that's my weekend spot.
I'm always afraid
Nice.
I'm gonna get like shampoo, like just flying off everywhere, going to the.
I got
like,
some in
I
my
don't know.
eye today. I'm kind of mad. It's still
Ooh.
red.
Oh no.
That's rough. That's a
Yeah.
rough day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have a more casual kind of listening experience that you do for the podcast.
Yeah, because
Mine's a production.
because at work I can't listen
Right.
at work.
Yeah.
So
For me, that's where I do most of my listening. Like 90% of it is I will get to work and I start work at like 6:30. So I kind of have a little bit
Whoa.
of downtime before everything. But there's still stuff to do. Otherwise, I wouldn't be there that early. But no one else is in the office yet. So it's kind of quiet. I can just kind of, be answering tickets, doing my thing while listening to the podcast. But I'll get in. I'll pull up my phone, put in my earbuds, pull out my notebook because I take pen to paper notes for all the podcasts, or I will forget half of the stuff that I want to talk about.
so do I.
And then as the day goes on, I'm just writing down notes. Here's show one. Cincy Brewcast talking to this brewery or talking at this festival, and I'll make my notes, and then I'll go to the next one, and if we get close to that cutoff time. Sometimes Tuesday at work, I'm like, I still have one more to listen to before we start recording this evening, and I'll be doing it Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
But I'm full on pen to paper, taking notes, getting my
me
shit
too.
together that way.
It's
yeah.
crazy how
Yeah.
our notes usually just always match.
Yes, always.
And that was one of my next questions was like, do you take notes? So I find it interesting where it's like you are extensively taking them, whereas you got a memory.
And Marcus seems to
Yeah,
remember
they're
more
up
of the
here.
details than
Yeah.
I do. And I'm like, how the hell do you remember this? I was writing stuff down and I didn't write down this one thing that Marco's bringing up. It's amazing. It just, the two kind of worlds colliding in that way just works incredibly well somehow.
What,
Like, it just, fits.
Okay, two-part question. What do you two have in common that makes this work, and what do you two don't have in common? Because
This is fun.
Well, because here's the thing: it's like you're a partnership. You're a team.
Yeah,
like I'm a solo assassin out here. I'm running by myself, and I've been friends with dudes that have like a 3-person podcast, and like they had some hosts switch out. I'm friends with a cast where there's like 4 different hosts, and they've been consistently there for over a year, and everybody's kind of got their defined positions. So how do you guys like make this work?
We found that we have a lot more in common than we ever realized when we first kind of tossed out the idea of this could be a fun idea for a podcast. Hey, do you want to do this with me? One of the first, and this is kind of a different little rabbit hole, but again, the weird little things that we found out that were kind of like, we were meant to do this show together. Like something was just meant to work this way. So after Mark and I were talking in the chat during the Weekly Pint about this stuff, we did the Facebook friend request thing. Okay, cool. Well, as you typically do with someone, you start Facebook stalking them and just kind of make sure, hey, is this someone that I actually, have similar values with? Are they posting weird shit, whatever? I noticed Marco's birthday. I'm like, okay, that's my birthday. Did he just and some people put in like just random dates for that stuff. You don't want the man actually knowing your birthday, whatever. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird, but weird coincidence kind of thing.
Wait, same date, obviously, but same year?
Different year.
Different year, but same day.
Same month, same day.
Wow,
Same month, same day. Yeah.
I mean,
Right. And,
yeah, it doesn't happen often.
So the first time we met, I'm like, okay, hey, weird question, but I noticed on Facebook your birthday's this. I'm like, is that true? And he's like, yeah, why wouldn't it be? I'm like, because that's my birthday. And so we got out our driver's licenses like, what the hell? This is the weirdest thing in the world. Same birthday.
I did.
So we're like, okay, right there, we're like, okay, we're already clicking. This is already something that it's like, all right, this is too odd. And then as we continue to talk, we both did obstacle course racing.
Oh, really?
Years ago. And I'm like, well, did you do this race? Yeah. Did you do this one? Yeah. And I'm like, we were on the same course together at, probably different times. Hell, one of us probably lapped the other one. And we had no idea. I'm like, man, our paths have been crossing for quite a while.
For years.
And then just as we were talking, the jokes that we were bouncing off of each other, it just fit. Like we were able to really kind of feed off of each other, the jokes that we wanted to make about, the shows and the people on the podcast. They all lined up. Like it wasn't something that Mark was going one extreme this side and I'm going one extreme that side. We just had very similar ideas of what we wanted the show to be.
We did, and a lot of those ideas really just
we both had a lot of terrible ideas.
But the collaborating on, okay, I think that could work. And then the weeding through all of that worked really well. The passion to do it, the chemistry was there, and at least from our standpoint, the listeners can decide. But we're still doing this. We celebrated our 2-year anniversary essentially just last week.
Last week, yeah.
And we have between main episodes, calendar episodes, bonus episodes, Patreon episodes. What do we have? Like 160, 180?
Close to 200, yeah.
Close to 200 pieces of content out there.
So our ideas tend to just, I think purely just the fates align properly that we both had these ideas. We both enjoy the same thing, both Cincinnati craft beer and podcasts, mostly podcasts about craft beer.
Right.
And just our sense of humor is very similar. Our the lanes that we want to stay in with stuff lined up. I don't know. It was just it all just clicked. It all just worked very well.
Yeah.
Very good collaborative effort.
I will say to anybody who's listening, if you're thinking about starting a podcast, take people's advice.
Yes.
Because we got advice and we didn't follow it, especially
Not
from
all
an
of it, some of
from an equipment standpoint. Like we started extremely small, which is fine to do. But we knew right from the get-go, essentially 2-3 episodes in, we're like, yeah, this is too small. We're not going to have the flexibility that we actually want. Now, what it did was afford us the ability to start, but by episode 10, we had an equipment upgrade that made it way easier for Julia to, do all the magic after the podcast is done, as well as some of the magic that happens while it happens. Because,
Those buttons aren't going to push themselves.
they're not. And there's been talk as well as, we actually have the capability to where if somebody just wanted to be around and help us from a production aspect, there's an opportunity for that. But we're doing this, and Julia, I feel, has done a fantastic job with learning the equipment and being able to put together the podcast as she puts it together. I'm not perfect in doing this, but there's almost every week I have to thank Julia for what ends up being put out into the universe, because of along with listening to everybody else's podcast, I listen to the podcast because I want to know what the final version of what got put out into the universe was. Of course, I was there when it was happening, but
you're the talent. You're the sex appeal. Like this
Exactly.
isn't. Yeah, you're not doing the behind the scenes.
right.
Right.
So, I don't know if
You're
I
not
don't know if
listening, going, "Ooh, yeah, that's just not hitting the same way that it sounded while we were in the room together."
Well, also being in the business, I want to know whether other people are going to come up to me and talk about if I talked about something about them in the business. So anyway, along with all that, I listen to our content as well as one of those. I don't want to call it a check and balance because Julia has full authority over all of this. But
And it's still a collaboration. If I have a question on, I'm thinking of cutting this part or this, I'm not entirely sure if it sounded right or
we've
not.
had
if a
a
joke
few of
didn't
those
land or
conversations.
something, I'll let him know, hey, I think I'm going to cut out this part unless you have a problem with me cutting out this part, or vice versa. I know that you said after we recorded, not sure about that joke on this or this. And I'm like, well, when I
Right.
listened to it, it sounded,
Yeah,
I think, the way it flowed. And again, it's weird doing that because
I've done that with my wife before when editing. I'm like,
right, because you know what the mood was like in that moment. So
Right.
when you listen to it, you're like, yeah, but this is how we meant it.
Yeah.
And trying to remove yourself from that and going, but what would a third party who has no
Yeah.
idea?
yeah. What do
The
you think?
facial expressions and the,
What do you think of this?
yeah,
exactly.
You also hit on a big thing back there a few moments ago where you're talking about like starting out small and then getting bigger. What you're talking about is like a pretty like normal thing that happens across all hobbies where people generally with hobbies, there's a few people that go full bore from the jump, but most people dip their toe in the water and they kind of see like, am I into this? And then once they kind of figure that out, then they're like, oh yeah, I do need to buy shit.
yeah.
I kind of, good.
It was the biggest thing is the mixer. So I bought a recording device. It was like $250. I don't know, something like that. Maybe it was less. I don't remember.
Less,
Long
yeah.
story short, less.
It was less, yeah.
160.
It's fine. It was whatever.
What I don't remember.
$1. No, it was
$1. Bought a recording device, and without
was fine.
splitters and things, you couldn't get more than. Actually, you needed the splitter to
needed
have
the
two
splitter,
people
yeah,
on it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then we upgraded to a bigger board by episode 10, and we don't have any need for the foreseeable future to be bigger than that board.
But there was that moment of, ooh, like you start looking up like, most needed accessories for podcasting, this and that. And I'm going, oh, look at all the shiny things on Amazon.
Yeah.
We could do this, we could do this. And I'm trying to go, okay, but we're barely in the double digits of podcasting. I'm pretty sure this is going to stick for a while, but
Yeah.
the fact that, we're not recording in our own space, we are at a bottle shop
Yeah.
recording all the time. So we can't have like the table clamp mics. We
Right.
could, but the tear up, the set
Set
down,
down would be a pain
all
in
of that
the
would just
ass.
be such an absolute
Yeah.
nightmare
Yeah.
that it's like
100%.
we need to make sure that we can be able to stay as mobile as possible
Yeah.
for those times that we can't record where we normally record. And that's where kind of that whole, do you jump in both feet and just buy all the stuff right away, or do you just kind of dip your toe in? We kind of dipped our toe in, but pretty quickly went, we know we want to do
Yeah.
more than this. So let's kind of both feet into it.
Over the course of 2 years, we went from a recording device where you had to have a splitter for 2 mics and a splitter for 2 headsets, to a recording device where we can have
Up to 6 mics and 6 headsets.
6 mics,
yeah.
6 headsets. What is it, like a 36 bank
Soundboard.
soundboard, all the sliders. It's got a port for Bluetooth. So actually, we used that last
We
week.
use that, yeah. We use that fairly often, actually.
So and then we have a
P4,
we have
yeah.
a P4. We have a P4, but on any given day when all the equipment's together, we can do a recording with a P4 with 1 mic, 2 mics. We went out to a hop yard and recorded
Hop
with
farm,
a
yeah.
hop farm
Yeah.
and recorded with a P4, or we could set up and have a 6-person round table. And so, but I mean, this is over the course of 2 years.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. So what about where do differences lie? Like where does this relationship not work? Where do you guys argue about stuff? Like where is there times when it's just like, hey, I don't like this. Like, why are we doing this?
I think the only things that there've never been any actual arguments. It's always been really good conversations about, well, let's do this. Well, I don't know if we should do this or do that. A lot of those have been around like different segments of the show. Like, do we want to have a segment where we're doing this, or the timer thing where we try to keep
Yeah.
each podcast recap to a certain time, because we're like, our episodes for recapping 3 shows are like an hour and 45 minutes. We're like, this is ridiculous. We're having a good time because we're going off on all these different tangents, talking about things that those podcasts talked about, but just our own opinions on them. And we're like, this is just too much. Let's try to rein it in. And it didn't work. Like, people notice, they're like, you can kind of tell that you're limiting yourselves.
Yeah.
And there was kind of a little discussion on, but we still want to try to be more concise with what we're doing. If we have, last week we had exactly 1 show to recap.
Yeah.
And we still managed to go for an hour. Well, we recorded for longer than an hour, but with breaks and stuff like that, I was able to cut it down to about an hour. But that wasn't even really an argument or a disagreement. It was just, I just don't know that this is working. Should we keep trying this? Should we give it a couple more episodes before we actually go, it isn't sounding the way we want it to? Or do you want to stick to, no, we said we're not going to have an episode that's longer than this. Let's not have an episode
originally,
longer than that.
One
yeah.
of the things that we said conceptually when we first got together was we wanted the whole episode to be 45 minutes. It never happened.
Not happening.
Not going to happen.
No.
And as a matter of fact,
Hey, we got to cut down this Michael Bay movie. It's
Exactly.
like, all
It's
right, well,
like,
we'll try.
yeah.
Which explosions do you cut out of
Yeah,
that?
yeah,
It's like
we
they're
don't-
all awesome.
Yeah, you got to keep all the explosions.
Right,
Can't, No,
right.
not one is getting on the floor.
And another, so not an argument or a disagreement, but also early on, Julia asked me to create the Facebook page, which I did.
He did.
I did. I think there's 150 people that follow that Facebook page.
He made it as a person account. Like,
Yeah,
the first name is
so-
Truth Beer and the last name is Podsequences. And I'm like,
So-
oh, Marco, that's
So yeah, I
that's
screwed
not
that
it.
up. I don't know if all of those people migrated to our
I don't know. It's-
actual Facebook page.
It's
But
fine.
I screwed that up. I tried very early on. I tried being
Like the social media.
active
Yeah.
in social media, and so at the time we were on Twitter, and I was putting stuff out, and I had some mistakes where
It's hard to
I-
remember to switch accounts sometimes.
Well, it wasn't even that I switch. It wasn't even a switch. I think maybe I did that once.
It was just, yeah.
But I also took, like, my decision making on some of the pictures wasn't great because I think I took a picture in front of an Amazon package that had my address on it.
Hell yeah, dude.
It's like, hey,
Yeah.
you need to edit.
No,
some
Julie
of
was
that
like,
stuff,
hey,
like,
hey,
just,
stop doxing
know.
yourself. You're going to get swatted.
Right.
Right. So, I tried, and wasn't all that great with it. And
I think the only ongoing, I'm going to use the word conflict, but that's not anywhere near what it actually is trying to make sure that we know what our niche covers, what our bubble is for what we're recapping.
yeah.
Because we said it could end up being where there are 20 podcasts a week, and we just don't have time for that. So how do we set limits on what we talk about?
Yeah.
And, we kind of decided it has to be someone that's podcasting from Cincinnati about Cincinnati craft beer.
You got rules.
It has to be directly about Cincinnati craft beer. It has to be on the podcatchers we listen to, because if I have to jump between 5 different apps to find all these, I don't have time for that. And that's one of the things that comes up every now and then, because there are
Yeah.
1 or 2 podcasts that aren't super regular, but that do post every now and then about Cincinnati craft beer, but they're not on like our podcatchers, or it's YouTube only. And it's like, how do we still do justice by them, but we're not kind of breaking our own rules?
Right.
So sometimes Mark will say,
Yeah.
yeah, I listened to this episode of this because it'll show up on Stitcher. And I'm like, I had no idea that even existed, because every time I search for this podcast on mine, it doesn't show up. I don't know
It's
what's
also
going on.
away, Stitcher. I need to migrate
You
to
need
a
to-
different platform.
Yeah.
I have a friend who's still on Pandora.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He got me to put the show on Pandora because he's like, I'd listen to you, Bill. I'm
I
exclusive to
submitted it
Pandora.
like
And I'm
when we
all right,
first started,
fine.
and it's still under review for submission to Pandora. And I'm like, oh,
I listen
maybe
to
that
music
was.
on Pandora. I listen to no
Yeah.
podcasts on Pandora.
Yeah.
Well-
But I think, that's kind of the only like thing that sometimes it's, well, should we cover this? And I'm like, I don't know. It's like technically it fits 99% of our criteria.
A Dayton a podcast that's hosted out of Dayton,
Mm-hmm.
talking about Ryan Geist Cincy Light is probably not going to make our podcast review.
Especially when it doesn't but that's that weird gray area, because it fits our criteria except for the fact that it doesn't
If they
publish
went
on
to Ryan Geist
our podcatchers.
and had Cincy Light,
No,
it would
no.
probably be.
It's not even that. It doesn't hit my
no,
podcatcher.
no. If they recorded from,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
if
I
they
see what you're
record
saying.
from Ryan Geist,
Yeah,
and are
yeah.
having Cincy Light and all these other things, that becomes in our bubble.
Right.
But if you're recording in Dayton and you have 1 Cincinnati beer out of 6, that's not really our thing.
Right. Like if you're a podcast that's like, oh, we're doing a beer tasting of like 10 different beers, one of them Cincinnati. If we happen to hear about the podcast, we'll listen.
Yeah, well, we
like-
did the Beerus,
Wait,
and the Beerus
wait,
is out
hold-
of.
Okay, hold on. Are the rules are the rules written down somewhere? Like, is there like official fucking scribes happening here?
I have them saved to a file on my computer, so they are.
I was getting ready
But
for
yeah,
you.
I have the notes. I have it pulled out of my
notes,
pocket.
and
yes.
there's a
yes.
plaque on the wall, and them's the
But it
rules.
is. But
You
it is.
gotta follow 'em.
It's tricky. Like there have been plenty of episodes of the Go Beer Cats podcast, which is about UC sports, where a lot of times he'll be like, hey, I'm drinking this Cincinnati beer, and it'll make it in the show notes. So I'm like, oh, hey, let me listen to this. But then it's like a little 5-minute clip, like, oh, hey, I'm drinking this, and there's no actual talk about the beer. Or Beers and Beards, or Beards and Beers. It all sounds the same. Great podcast, but every time they say, oh, we're drinking this Cincinnati beer, it's literally, oh, we're just drinking this beer while we're talking about everything except for that beer. We just make a mention. So,
Yeah,
right.
And
We
that's
did-
where we try to have to figure out, well, do we cover this? Do we not? I don't know. I listened to it. I
Right.
kind of think we should.
We did cover the Beerus when he had
a bunch of
it was
Cincinnati,
Ohio and Cincinnati beers,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So we didn't cover that one. Which
But that
which was cool.
falls under it's a national podcast, but it's directly about Cincinnati craft beer. It's not just a national podcast, and they made a 2-second reference.
And we
to
also
it.
offended him unknowingly.
Yes,
Well,
we did. We made fun of Jar Jar Binks, and apparently they're huge fans, and they retweeted at us with the huge
picture of
Jar Jar Binks
them
behind them. I'm like,
with
oh
Jar
God,
Jar
guys, we're so
Binks.
sorry.
well, sometimes you take a swing and you miss, and that's okay. But I do agree with you. I think that having a podcast where you have a theme, like you do have to have rules. Like there
Right.
has to be a thing where it's like, and you can kind of bend them and shit, but at the same time, you can't break them.
Right, and that's the only
Yeah.
thing that we have ever. Again, it's not even disagree, but we have like actual conversations
Yeah.
about like, what about this episode of this, and we'll kind of go, well, it kind of fits these, but it doesn't fit this. And if it's going to be a kind of a regular thing, it's not on my podcatcher. You kind of use the biggest example because some people will post stuff just to like whatever Anchor pushes out on. I'll never see it. And I'm too ADHD. I have too much other stuff going on to where, oh shit, it's already Tuesday. It's 10 minutes before we're going to record. I forgot to check these 13 other podcast apps to see if this podcast has an episode.
We've
for
also
me.
done where if it's one that doesn't come out regularly, we'll push it to the next week.
Right.
I mean,
Oh,
so,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah, yeah.
it's
Yeah, I don't think the world's gonna blow up.
Yeah,
Like
It
hasn't yet.
Yeah, it can wait a week. You can get in a minute. But yeah, I definitely agree. Like you do have to have rules. You got to have like, here's what it is, here's what it's not. I run into this a lot with like where people throw stuff at me. I'm like, is that really a hobby or a collection? And they're, you know, and then it's like, and then we'll have to have like a deeper conversation. Like, does it fit? Like one of the ones that happened recently was like talking about black hair, and I'm like,
That was a fascinating episode.
Yeah,
Holy cow.
and when
yeah.
when my friend Cleo threw it out to me, I'm like, I'm not really sure this is a hobby. Like this is.
Then
like,
as you listen to it, you're like, holy shit, you have to be invested
Yeah.
to do any.
Yeah, and
Wow.
and also that became this whole thing where it's like, but you know, there is this element to it where it is fun, and like you have all these different choices on stuff, and like you can do this. I'm like, okay, cool. But like the initial pitch of this, I'm like, I don't know if this falls with
Right.
with what I do.
So, kind of question on that back at you. What about Truth, Beer, and Consequences made you go, that fits into the what you into sphere? Because I mean, yeah, it is kind of like a hobby for us to talk about other craft beer podcasts.
is.
But is that kind of what made you go, you know what, this could fit? Or you're like, I don't have anyone to talk to this week. Let's see if let's see if these
Marco
two
and
fuckers
Julia
will show
might be
up.
available.
They'll show up.
Definitely the concept of like it's a podcast about podcast. I was like, I'm interested in this because, you know, kind of like what I said earlier, it's one of those things where we were kind of getting near it, and we were talking about this social media thing. We skipped it, but like social media is a prime example of it. Like social media is something where you have to be like, look at me, look at all this cool shit I'm doing. Everything's fucking awesome. And
Everything is awesome.
yeah. and you know, just for having this conversation, like all three of us have realized we're not that person. It's really hard for us to be like, look how great we are. Instead, we're like,
it's all about what everyone else is
we're
doing.
like, look at this cool thing over here. This thing is great.
We want to showcase everyone else. 100%, yeah.
So that was the thing for me where I was like, there's really not a lot of podcasts that do what your podcast does. And that made me find interest in it, where I was like,
That's cool.
Yeah, I was like, this is something different than the typical formula, because the typical formula is very much like it's focused on yourself or your opinion on a thing. And you are like, no, like we want to support our friends. Like we want to show the scene. Like,
I mean, we definitely go down those trails
Yeah.
of these are our opinions on what they're talking about on their shows, but we definitely try to keep it. We don't really try to keep it reined in as much as maybe we should, but we do try to keep it focused on these are the really cool things that they're talking about. This is why you need to listen to their show. And we're going to throw in a couple little twists that may or may not be true to make you really interested in listening or
check it out.
watching or doing whatever it is that they're doing.
So
Yeah.
also, as we talk about and drink beer, one thing we don't do is we do not rate beer. And that was from one of the early discussions.
that
Now-
seems like it could get very troublesome very quick.
Yeah.
Especially your involvement
Yes.
in you know, a career, and then also just you got to play nice at people on some levels. I ran into this with my buddy Luke Effler, who's also in the beer industry. You know, Luke's got opinions, but his
Nothing wrong with that,
but
but
his Untapped is like always just, I drank this beer and that's it. And I asked him about it. I'm like, dude, I know you have a lot of opinions on beer. He's like, yeah, man, but come on, you know.
Right.
And he's like, it's not gonna do me any good. And I'm like, yeah, 100%, I
Yeah.
get it. And so I get that, like, you're in a position where it's like, okay, like, this comes into this question, like, have you had any blowback from criticizing something on the show, or like, how do you walk that line of criticism? Because it is that thing where like there's on mic conversations, but there's off mic conversations.
Absolutely, yeah. We had, and this is more, Marco, you had the direct experience with this. Some of our first few episodes when Sonder Stories was still in full swing, and Guys, I'm sure that you're listening to this. I would love to see a 100th episode for like Oktoberfest. That would
Yeah.
be amazing, but we'll see. Fingers crossed. Knock on wood. Some of our first few episodes, there was someone from Sonder Stories that I think maybe you were up there just having a beer one night or something, and one of the guys said, "Hey, you kind of, shit on us a little bit for this and this." And Mark was like, no, that's not what we're doing. And it was the whole idea of not fully understanding what we were trying to do, like pique that interest by not being completely truthful about some of the stuff in the podcast to make you go, holy crap, what did they say about that? And again, nothing, we would never say anything incredibly inflammatory, like, oh, they said that this other local brewery is complete shit. And blah, blah. Like, we're not doing that. We're just tweaking little things that they say to make them funnier. Or, well, what we think might be funnier.
What we think might be funny.
Sometimes, yeah, but that's the consequences part of it. Like, maybe someone's not going to get it. And we've had that a few times. There were a few people that are like, I don't know if they didn't quite get it. But then once we explained it to them, they're like,
Right.
oh, so it's kind of like
and I don't know if we're
like a
doing a good
parody
enough
show,
job
yeah.
if it doesn't happen every week. And
True.
no, it doesn't happen every
No.
week. So maybe we're not
God.
doing a good enough job.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I think it is one of those like comedy things where I've never done stand-up comedy. I've listened to a ton of podcasts, know people in the industry, and just like there's always that thing of like as a comedian, you don't really like get like good and like 5 years in, and then like you don't really find your voice until like 8 years in or something like that. It's like very much like the first few years you're doing stand-up comedy, you're getting a lot of shit.
Yeah.
And I feel
Yeah.
like it's very much in that same lane with podcasting, because all of a sudden you jump into this thing where you're like, I got a voice, I got a microphone, I'm going to say some stuff. And you end up stepping on landmines you never knew you were going to step on, or the way you're trying to convey something, like you're not doing
doesn't work right.
Yeah, in a sarcastic enough manner for everybody to be like, oh, that's not really this person's feelings on this. Like they're being sarcastic, they're being funny, and
Right.
and then there's just sometimes where jokes miss. And
luckily for us, the few times that, and again, it's never been someone took offense, but they're like, hey, we don't know if you portrayed us right. But then once we explained what we're trying to do, then they're like, oh, okay, re-listening to it, I totally get it now. So we've been pretty lucky that the whole podcasting community that we are trying to promote has been incredibly understanding. And it has been a community of people that are like, hey, not sure what you meant when you said this. And then we can kind of explain directly to them, the joke or the reason that we tried to do something. And they're like, oh, okay, it's all good. So there have been some consequences. We joke that, a couple people tried to kill Marco once, but failed miserably, thankfully. I don't want to have to try to find another host to do the show with. But no, so far, the only like tiny blowback has just been in the very beginning, like the first few months, when people just didn't quite get what we were going for, which, yeah, if you just step into one of our episodes, you're going to go, these people hate Cincinnati craft beer podcasters. But if you're one of the podcasters, or if you've listened to a couple of episodes, you're like, no, we hold all of you guys in the highest regard, and we love what you do week in and week out. And this is our way of promoting you, but also having fun while we're doing it.
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely a tightrope to walk.
Absolutely,
but it does
absolutely.
feel good when people understand, when they're like, all right, cool, I get what you're trying to do. This is cool. Okay, so with that being said, like, do you get love from breweries? Like, do you like when you go in, or like, oh, thank you for this, or is there, or do you meet fans when you're out? Like, what's that interaction like when you're out and about in the world?
Breweries, not necessarily, because we're not really promoting breweries. Like, even I'll use Sonder Stories as like the main brewery podcast. We were talking about their podcast, not necessarily their beer or their brewery or their space. We were talking about them as a group of people and the things that they are passionate about, which happen to be Sonder. Sometimes we would go somewhere and they would kind of realize who one of us were, more so you, Marco, than me, because you have been a part of the industry, where me, I'm still just a drinker, more or less. But if we do go in somewhere and they kind of happen to know who, and Dave Volkman, he is kind of a perfect example.
Dave's great.
He owns Ohio Valley Hop Farms. He also bartends up at Sonder. If he sees us up there, he's like, hey, it's you guys. Hey, oh yeah, these guys do a podcast. It's this, it's that. And he kind of talks us up. But, other than that, and, the folks at Higher Gravity, because that's where we record, 99% of our episodes. But no, and neither of us really want, like, that recognition. Like, we're not doing this to try to get something or to be recognized or to, I don't know, we don't want people to look at us. We want people to go, oh, I heard you talking about Tank. I heard you talking about the Gnome. I heard you talking about, Hustle and Brews. We want, and I'm kind of speaking for you, Marco, but I feel like we've had this conversation before, but please correct me if I'm
you're right.
overstepping. We've never really wanted it to be about us and like, oh, we're doing this. So if we go somewhere, maybe we'll get a free beer out of this. Maybe no. If we do, if someone offers, cool. But no, we want to try to make sure you know about everyone else, not us. We don't want you to necessarily know about us.
Yeah, we're definitely we definitely try to stay grounded in that respect, or maybe even under the radar. If I, like, as an example, Madtree.
Yeah.
We reached out to Madtree just to ask if it was okay if we recorded in their space.
Mm-hmm.
And they appreciated the heads up, and they said absolutely. We did not reach out and say, hey, we're recording at your place, and, we would, how about a couple of flights, and, how about a tour of the brewery? No, nothing. It's just, hey,
if
we're
they
going to do
offer
our
it,
thing.
Cool, but no.
We're going to do our thing. We just need to make sure that you're okay with someone recording on your property.
With two people taking up your entire 6-foot table
Yeah,
with all
and
of our
they're
stuff.
like, absolutely, thanks for the heads up.
Yeah.
And it was, that's the way we're going to go about it. It's like, if someone comes up and asks what we're doing, hey, maybe I've got a few stickers. Here you go. Hopefully that's okay. But no, we're just hopefully they do listen, and hopefully they do like it. And I hope that they respect that.
No, I have met two of our listeners who are not part of the brewing industry over the course, which was really bizarre. Like, it was just one of those, like, this is just weird. I don't understand. At the first Missing Link Fest, my boyfriend and I were doing the tour between Humble Monk and Urban Artifact. Yeah. And we met up with Joe and Caroline from Craft Parenting Podcast down there. And we're going through, we're talking, and at the end of the tour, this guy kind of comes up, he goes, hey, weird question, but are you Truth Beer and Consequences? And I'm like, this is weird. I don't, like, it was one of those where I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. And I'm like, yeah, I'm Julie. And he was like, oh, is Marco here too? And I'm like, no, he's
everywhere together.
Right. I'm like, no, he's not here. Right, exactly. Why wouldn't he?
We're basically like the Road Warriors. Like, sure,
pretty much, yeah, exactly. If you see me, you see him. If you see him, you see me.
We left the spike shoulder pads in the car, but
Right.
we're always together.
She's Mel Gibson. I'm the guy with the bad teeth that flies the solo helicopter thingy.
And yeah, it was just one of those.
And gets the girl in the end? How does that happen?
Yeah, I don't. It's your
weird.
hair, man. It's your hair.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. Yeah. But yeah, so that was one of those where I forget how he found us. He's friends with Joe and Caroline, so I either listened to them or talked to them, and that's how he found our show. He's like, oh yeah, I recognize your voice. And it was just this, like, I don't know how to, like, the whole not good at taking compliments.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know how to, this is really cool, but I don't know what to do with this. But I was like, okay, really, don't be awkward. Don't be awkward. Don't be awkward.
One of the pieces of feedback from somebody that listened to our show just because they ran into us at Higher Gravity was, hey, listen to the pod, liked it. You could probably shorten up the reviews a little bit. Another response from somebody who listened to the pod, hey, when you shortened up those episodes, you didn't really go down those little rabbit holes that you go down. I was like, okay.
Yeah, and they really like the rabbit holes, yeah.
So it's like, all right, so we just got to do what we feel the flow of the show, what's right for the flow of the show.
Yeah.
I mean, you're Rush. Like, you have no boundaries. You're like, look, we got to have a fucking gong. Like, we got to bring in a keyboard at some point. Like,
Oh, yeah.
you know.
The keyboard hasn't come out in a couple episodes.
I know, right?
I know.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
But
you can't force it.
Nobody
yeah.
can stop this artistic vision. It is just always going, always
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, meeting people when you don't know them is weird. I fall into that same boat because I've like met people both from the podcast and also from doing art, and I also have a fucking cartoon nickname, and then that also makes it weird because then like people know me and I don't know them, and I'm like, oh man, I'm sorry, like I don't know,
Right.
you know, and
Right. Hey, I know your voice really well. It's
Yeah.
like, I did that when I ran into well, when Luke was with Sonder and they were doing Sonder stories.
Yeah.
I went up there once after work just to have a beer or two. And I always went over to when they used to have the to-go cooler to the left of the bar when you walked in, or when you're facing the bar. There were excuse me. There were a couple of people sitting at the end of the bar talking, and I recognized one of their voices. I'm like, I know that voice.
Yeah.
That's Luke from Saunders Stories. And I'm like, okay, that would be weird. He's talking to someone, so I didn't say anything. Just sat on other end of the bar and
was it
kind of
kinda
did
like-
my own thing.
Oh, guys. Sick.
But when he walked past, I just kind of turned and just went, hey, great beer, cheer. Like, didn't even really, say, I know you. And he was like, oh, thanks. Oh, what are you drinking? And, and he was like, no, let me guess. And he guessed the beer that I was drinking. He got it right. It was Big John's Barley Wine. And I said, oh, really, really like the podcast. And he goes, wait, how do you know that I do a podcast? And I said, well, I recognize your voice. And I'm sitting the opposite end of the bar that he was sitting. So he looks at me, he looks at the other end of the bar, back at me and goes, what do you mean you recognize my voice? I'm like, okay, I just
Everyone
realized
can hear-
I
mean,
made this really
You can hear your
weird.
voice. Anyone who's
Well,
heard Luke before.
but
knows
when you're
what
on the
Luke sounds
opposite
like.
end, right? But I'm like, sorry, that was weird. Every time I come here, the first thing I do is I go over to the to-go cooler to see what's in cans, and I happen to overhear you talking, so I recognize you from there. I'm a big fan of Saunders Stories. And he goes, well, then who am I? And I'm like, okay, this is getting even weirder. Now I feel awkward. Now I feel, and I'm like, and of course, me and my infinite awkwardness. I'm like, Mr.
Chase.
Shropshire. No, I Mr. Shropshire instead of Luke. Because I'm like, I don't know you.
He's
I know your
20 years
voice.
younger than you.
Yeah, well, that too.
No, he's
but
not.
I'm like,
he's 15.
same difference. But it's one of those things where I'm like, I know you, but I don't know you.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
So I'm like, okay, I just made this really. But then he actually was really appreciative and everything.
It's like
was
when I met
fine,
Jim
but-
Haslett,
Yeah.
former coach of the
Yeah.
New Orleans Saints and former defensive coach for the Cincinnati Bengals.
How awkward did you make that at Sports Clips?
Super awkward. I walked into Sports Clips after brewing one day at the brewery I worked at, and I opened the door, and then this gentleman just stood up, and I went, Jim Haslett. And he stopped and looked at me.
that's my name. Yes.
It's like,
He stopped and looked at me, and I said, I'm sorry, sir, are you Jim Haslett? And he goes, yeah. And I said, I grew up in New Orleans. Really love, what you did for the Saints organization. He goes, oh, thanks. Got tough after the hurricane. I was like, I know. He's like, well, where'd you grow up? And I told him where it is. He goes, oh, I lived in Destrehan. I'm like, I know.
I know everything about you.
I know absolutely
I know.
everything. Yeah.
I know. I know everything.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
that thing you like with your nipples.
yeah,
Your
it's-
wife
oh,
told me.
God.
I know
Yeah.
about that as well.
Right.
creepy.
Right. So
Right.
yeah,
So
when-
it's strange.
Yeah, I did this once with Travis Barker from Blink 182. It was I was at a Warped Tour. It was like the summer that he just joined Blink.
Nice.
And I was like, dude, are you stoked? Like, you don't got to be in the Aquabats anymore and like dress up like a fucking idiot. and he's like, I really like the costume. I was like, all right, man, I'm sorry.
dude,
Cool.
I
All right,
just made.
my bad. Sorry, Travis.
Yeah.
But dude, how cool
Things
of a
turned out okay
story
for him.
is that? Yeah, it's he's doing all right.
He's doing okay. He's doing
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
He's married to fucking Kardashian.
I was just gonna say he has that whole Kardashian
He has,
thing
he
going
has
on.
Kardashian
but
money. Although, yeah. Man, see, there's a real up and down there.
There is.
You have the
You have
money.
the money,
but
but you also have the Kardashians.
Yeah, you got the
like
Kar-
you have all of them. You can't just be married to one. Like you have them all. It's a package deal.
imagine having
That's the way it goes, though.
Imagine having Scrooge McDuck's money bin, but it's just in the middle of a trash barge.
Right. Yeah. And you know what? Who the hell wants to dive into coins? You can't do that.
No,
You
you
can't
can't
do
do
it.
that.
You will break
you
your
will.
fucking nose.
You're
Yeah,
done.
you're gonna instantly.
You actually would suffocate.
If you made
think
it
you
through,
would suffocate.
if you could even make it through,
if you can make it through, that's true. That's true.
You're
Yeah.
going to concuss yourself before you do anything
Yeah,
else.
that's true. No, you're definitely going to need facial reconstruction surgery. And if you do manage to somehow bury your body into it, if you have enough
You're going to
force,
get crushed and stuff. Yeah.
it's going to be like quicksand. It's just going to, every time you try to move up, it's just going to be more gold coming down upon you.
Also,
So bottom line is, for podcasters, I enjoy not having anyone recognize me not being.
also, I'm not upset about it, but have not encountered any quicksand in my life. I mean, as much as a fear it was.
In the
Like-
80s, it was everywhere.
Dude,
Yeah,
what about catching on fire? The whole stop, drop, and roll thing? How
Never-
many times have you actually caught
Never
on
had
fire?
to use it. Never had to use it.
Never had to use it.
No.
Although I do like that I got it in the back pocket if I need it. But I try to put myself in situations where I won't catch on fire.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not one of those dudes on 4th of July. It's like, hey, check it out. I have gasoline in the M80s.
I have gasoline
Let's
and I have
party.
10 fingers.
The
Let's
first
see what we
meeting,
can do.
the
Yeah.
first meeting for work I went to after 4th of July, he's like, the owner goes, "How is everybody? How was your 4th?" And everybody just put their hands up and showed him like, they're all here. They're all 10.
You
right
either did
here.
it really right or really wrong, and I'm not sure which yet.
That should be the way we do the national anthem now. Instead of covering the heart, you put all 10
All 10
fingers.
fingers.
Yeah.
Got him.
Like, celebrate America is great. Happy 4th.
Oh my God, that's great.
All right. So one big difference between my show and your show is we are in a very controlled environment right now.
Yes.
You are not. So I could not do. I could not like. My brain would fucking break if I tried to record how you guys record.
And ours would break if we tried doing this
Yeah.
week in and week out. Yeah.
So how
yeah.
so how did, like, from the jump, did you know it was going to be live, or like how did you decide on like recording in the wild?
So it was, I don't think it was ever a question that we were going to record at somewhere.
Just out somewhere, yeah,
Just out
yeah.
somewhere. The other thing that we found pretty early on is that if there's no background music or crowd noise in our podcast, it just seems really flat, really
Mm-hmm.
static. It doesn't necessarily have to, like, our energy necessarily isn't different, but when you listen, that there is something missing if there's not crowd noise or music playing in the background.
And
The
I
other
noticed
thing
that
is-
one of the first episodes we did where we were at BC's Montgomery, rip, miss that place. I was editing an episode and I'm like, why does this just sound so weird? Like something just sounds off about the entire episode. And I realized that there was just no background music playing. Like there was, there are very few people that come in and out of that place on a Tuesday. It was just quiet. It was a little echoey. And I'm like, maybe I can add like, a third track of just background
Something.
noise. And that just sounded weird. 'Cause I'm like, you could tell it wasn't
You could-
organic.
you could
It
tell
wasn't natural. And we're
it
like,
was faux.
and so we started going, if there was nothing going on, hey, to Ben or Kayla, whoever was behind the bar, we're like, can you put on some music or something when we're here? Otherwise, it just sounds weird. Unless there were other people there to where you had some of that noise.
Public spaces
But
about
it's-
music is
it's
very
weird. It
yeah,
is. It
yeah, it
is.
really is. Like if you go to a place where you're like in an environment where there's no background noise and it's just silence,
Mm-hmm.
it's real creepy.
But
Well,
it
the other-
ties back to like one of the very first questions that you asked about kind of the format and how we make things work. Having background noise works for us. Like it is almost essential for us, whether it's people at the bar. I mean, there have been parties going on at Higher Gravity Summit Park that you
Loud
can tell
noise.
they're almost as loud as we are, even though we are eating the microphones and our volumes are all the way up, but it still works. Where for your shows, because they are so much more conversation focused, almost, they're not necessarily interview shows, but it is more about really diving in and understanding what everyone's talking about. I feel like having background noise or that level of background noise would almost be detrimental to your show because you would have people starting to try to pay attention like, oh, what am I hearing in the background versus what's the conversation that's happening.
It does change the dynamic too, where if someone can come in that we know and they'll just walk over.
Yeah.
They'll
and
just
it's
walk
great. I love
over
it.
in the middle of recording. They'll just walk over, sit down, bring their dog, or just
Or their bearded dragon.
or their bearded dragon.
There was an episode where someone
You had a
came
bearded
in.
dragon?
There was a guy
Awesome.
that came in, and the gnarly gnome was there. So he was sitting at one of the chairs, and I don't think he had intended to participate. He was like, "I'm just going to hang out while you guys do your thing." I'm just like, there's a bearded dragon over there. We were barely through our normal intro. I have my headset off, and I'm like, I need to talk to this lizard over here because this is the coolest thing that I've ever seen. And I mean, we just kind of let the vibe of the place almost help, like, direct the show. Like, there have been times where we've sort of rushed the ending because we're like, it's getting too crazy in here. We need to just get a Dora drink and go into the park and just kind of wrap stuff up because of this. But
Wait, side quest real quick.
yes.
I got feelings on reptiles.
Okay.
So, number one,
This was the first and only time that I've ever seen a reptile come into Higher Gravity Summit Park. So
I feel like if you're in like more warmer weather areas, like in the South, or if you're in someplace like kind of West Coast or like the desert, if you're out in like Nevada and New Mexico, you will run into reptile people where they bring their reptiles with them out.
iguanas and all that, yeah.
Yeah. And here's my thing. I'm terrified of snakes. I'm trying to get better at it. I don't like snake guy. There's always snake guy. Snake guy always has like
Sure.
a gigantic,
A big old boa or something.
Yeah,
Sure,
some big
sure.
python, and in my head, I'm like, okay, you're not going to like bite me. It's not going to be a big deal. Like you're,
Right.
and you're super, but still I'm just like,
Right. No, this was one of those. It was such a bizarre. Does the guy that had the ferrets still live
I think so.
above there?
I like a ferret. Would never own one, but I
Yeah.
enjoy
He has several. So every now and then, I don't think he's 21 yet, but he just like takes them for
Yeah, he
walks.
hasn't been
And he'll
21.
like pop in and just like
Yeah,
say
he'll
hi to people.
stop
with
in and
ferrets.
say hi, and
Yeah, this was a guy that, because, I talked to him for a few minutes when I should have been recording our show, but I'm like, sorry, this is
He's a
taking
regular
precedence
there.
over everything. I think he said it was his son's reptile, bearded dragon.
yeah.
he's a
And he was
regular.
like, yeah, he likes to kind of get it socialized and all that because bearded dragons are actually fairly
Yeah.
docile, friendly, critters.
And that's the thing I do, even though I'm scared of snakes, I love a good lizard.
Yeah,
I used to have a
yeah.
green iguana. I love bearded
nice.
dragons. And is it a Tegu or a Tingu?
Tigu is
yeah.
how I've always said it.
Yeah, those like
someone can
big ass. Those things are awesome.
Yes,
those things
yes.
are great, and it's just like, dude, like I would.
This is cool.
Yeah, like I totally understand like how people end up with those kind of like reptiles as pets because they are akin to like something the size of Jet or like a house cat or something.
Right, right.
I've also toyed with the idea of like getting a tortoise at various points in my life.
Russian tortoises would be the way to go, but they are so much work for
Well,
kind of what you get out of
and,
them.
and the other problem with them is too, it's like sitting right now in my early 40s, it's like I'm gonna have to put this thing in a will,
Oh yeah,
and
Yeah.
then I'm gonna have to like force this on some, and I don't want to do that.
Right.
I gotta, and then they will also escape, which is a whole
can, yeah.
thing where
Yeah.
like they'll burrow through the yard. My friend Jane, she had one. And hers didn't escape, but like it burrowed underneath their chain link fence.
Oh,
And
no.
then there's other ones that they'll burrow too far and can then get into another yard, and then they just kind of take off on you.
Yeah.
Which
you have to
think
dig like
tracking
a
down-
trench and all that to try to
Yeah.
get right. But part of what I love about recording kind of on location is you never know what's going to go. And we have there'll be dogs in the background where we're like, yeah, the dog agrees with us because it's making noise this and that. It's just
Yeah.
part of the environment and part of the whole. The conversation about craft beer, I feel like, should never be confined to just four walls and microphones and nothing else. There has always got to be something else as part of the conversation with beer, whether it's music in the background, conversations happening down the hall, across the bar, whatever it might be. But beer is fun. Beer podcasts are fun. And for us to try to do a recording, and part of it too was, okay, where can we both meet up? Like after work, what's a space that works for both of us that's between where we both live and all that?
which worked great
We just went,
until I moved.
and
now
yes,
it works a
now
little bit less great, but still great.
You fucked it up,
I know.
but it's okay.
Yeah.
We're still making it work.
We're still making it work. But yeah, that
Yeah. No, we always knew we wanted to record at a space that had beverages, and we thought about doing it at, like, we had one or two breweries that are like, if you want, you can just always record here, which is great. But we like being able to have a variety of beers, a variety of different drinks, and
Yeah.
sometimes you don't get that at one specific brewery. So we've always known that we've got to do something
if
on
we can be at a
location
place that
somewhere.
has the majority of beers, and we can find a reason to talk about the majority of the places in town.
Yeah.
Although it's not in the show, criteria or syllabus, whatever, but eventually you have to mention West Side every every
yeah.
episode.
It's a
I don't
rule,
know
hard and
why
fast.
we have to do that. Maybe it's because of Julia.
It's because of me,
Maybe
100%.
because of our guests that continually mention West Side. But
Well,
you
and
can check that box off for this podcast. We mentioned West Side
There we go.
Brewing.
Check.
Well, and I do want to say not entirely tied to your question, but the fact that we do mention every week where we're recording and kind of shout that out. Like Higher Gravity, they do not have to let us take up one of their biggest tables every single week. You know, Mad Tree, when we've recorded there, a couple times, they could have easily said, hey, no, it's a busy day for us. We don't want to, lose the table space. So we're not asking for anything from them other than, hey, can we have a space to do this? And the fact that they say yes and are okay with us doing that, we appreciate that so much. It's just like listening to all the other podcasts. It's not us. It might sound like a commercial. Hey, we're at Higher Gravity and the beer vent box is this and that. It's genuine stuff that we love. We're doing
Yeah.
it because we want to let people know this is where we are, this is what they're doing, not because they told us, well, you can only record here if you promote us. No, it's because we want to be there and we love what the places are doing.
Yeah, I'm a huge Higher Gravity fan. I have been for a long time. I dig the whole concept of having a room where it's like, hey, we have 15 to 16 taps, and then we have these fridges that are filled with the beer. Get what you want, drink what you want. The OG location in Northside, I went there on Saturday night before I went to the Jizza show with my friends. My friends came in from out of town. I'm like, this is a spot to go to because, again, like what you're saying, we can get a variety of beers. We can try different things. We can get pizza from Chameleon. It's going to be great.
Oh, God, the pizza's so damn good.
It's so good. And then also now, like the Summit Park location, like that's also very cool because like I live less than 15 minutes from it.
Right.
So just being able to pop up there, the whole door experience that they have going on.
That's how I met you.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
I was behind the bar.
Yeah. And I really, really like the concept of Higher Gravity. Like I'm glad that they're here, and I'm glad that because it's akin to like what Beer Zombies has out in like Las Vegas. It's that whole thing where it's like, hey, we have stuff and try it across the board and everything we have on tap, it's gonna be good.
Right. Agreed.
What do you so let's shift maybe from like podcast stuff over to local Cincinnati beer scene. All right, first question, as always.
Ooh, here we go.
Are there too many breweries?
No,
Absolutely
I say
not.
no.
You know
I
what?
think
I'm with you as well.
Absolutely
I think
not.
some neighborhoods are getting close to critical mass because at some point, and I forget which show this was on. I think this might have been on the Glendale House episode
Glendale
of
House.
the Glendale House of Cincy Brewcast, where he said at some point, and I could be misremembering that, so no at me if I fuck this up.
He'll see you tomorrow.
You might probably. If the only potential downfall is you get a neighborhood that has more breweries than one person can actively visit all the time. Those people find their spaces and they stay in those spaces. But then it's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy of there aren't too many, you just don't have that new rotation of people coming in and out because people find their places within that neighborhood that has 3, 4, 5 breweries within whatever tiny radius you consider to be acceptable. We still have plenty of neighborhoods in Cincinnati, in northern Kentucky, that don't have anything. Look at the West Side. We have West Side Brewing. We have 13 Below. Very, all things considered, that could be a 30-minute drive from one to the other, depending on where you're coming from. If Verge Brewing works out and they go in Delhi, cool, you've made that radius a little bit smaller. There is still plenty of room for more breweries in just that tiny little triangle of Cincinnati. So no, I don't think that there are too many breweries yet. Some neighborhoods might be getting close to that equilibrium, but no, we're not there yet at all. And Michael Amon, you can at me for that one.
He might.
He might.
He might communicate with me. He might communicate with you.
Yeah.
His ex back and forth with somebody in social media here locally was pretty funny.
But also very, very educational and informative.
It
was
was
good.
I don't think there are too many breweries for many of the same reasons Julia says, but we can absolutely have more. I think we need to be. Anybody who's coming on board now needs to be smarter about where they're going to put it. They need to make sure that they understand their place in the market. More than likely, it's not in distribution. Even the biggest of breweries here locally are doing everything they can to try and make sure that their barrels in distribution stay at least the same levels that they have been the past year or so. The growth model for them is looking challenging unless they're going to go and grow into other markets more than they already have. And those breweries have been open for several years, so they are already in several different markets in several different
established.
states.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're established. So I don't think there are too many, and there's not too many if you want to have a three barrel system, a 7-barrel system, a 10-barrel system. If you want to have a 15, 20-barrel system, well, maybe you need to be in one of those areas that really is not as brewery populated, but that doesn't mean that you can't.
Yeah.
And that, just because you can, let's make sure that for those breweries that they have a really strong plan on being able to manage the business from all sides of the business.
Yeah, I 100% agree with everything you all were saying. I think that, when that question gets posed, it's one of those things where it's like, you have to understand what kind of brewery you can make in 2023. Like the idea that you're going to make something like what Mad Tree or Rheingeist was a decade ago, you can't come in and do that now. Like that's
You can't even do what Urban Artifact's doing.
Yeah.
Like you can't be well, no, I kind of take that back. You couldn't do a sour or a fruit tart specific brewery in Cincinnati today, I don't think. But I think that there is still plenty of room for a style specific brewery.
Yeah.
Rebel Metal tried to do that. They were going to be the lager brewery,
which is not a bad
they
idea.
didn't really. I loved Rebel Metal.
Yeah.
But they didn't really hit the nail on the head as far as staying lager specific because people that came there wanted everything else. It is a hard balance, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But if there are places, if there's someone that wants to open a lager specific brewery, like a cask ale specific brewery, a stout specific brewery, where they have a couple of the other styles, but when you walk in, you go in with the understanding that you are going
This is
to
what you're
have,
here for.
out of 10 taps, you're going to have 8 stouts and only, and 1 lager and 1 IPA.
Yeah.
I think there's still plenty of room for those kind of niche places in Cincinnati. But yeah, if you're just doing a neighborhood brewery,
I think it's unfortunate that the gluten-free brewery didn't make it, and
Rolling
they didn't
Mill,
make. I think that the Rolling Mill didn't make it. They said for family reasons,
Sure.
and that's fine. And I hope everything pans out for them. There's a new brewery there now called Gravel Road.
yeah.
But gluten-free, and the next one is non-alcoholic. We do
Yeah.
not have a non-alcoholic brewery.
Or even
in-
bottle shop, just a dedicated
in
space for
the
that.
greater Cincinnati area. Now, do we need it? I don't think we need it. Is there space for it? I think there's space for it. Will it work? I don't think
know.
so. But that doesn't mean that it couldn't. I mean, I'm not, the say all end all on that. But
I'm with you on what you were saying about like the idea of like the specialty brewery. I definitely think that that's something that we're at a point where you can have and can work. Urban Artifact definitely is at that point now, just because of like it's a unique thing, and we have but if you want beers and all these different styles, you can go to different places. But that's the place to go to if you're into sours. That's your jam,
Right. And trying to like encroach on that with, well, we're going to do a sour or fruit tart only brewery up in Mason. It could work. There's
Yeah.
space for it.
You're far enough away.
But you've got to know
Yeah.
that people that are looking for those tart beers, those, Midwest fruit tarts, they're looking for Urban Artifact. They're not necessarily looking for something new. They'll check you out because you're the new thing.
yeah, it'd be tough
but
too,
I don't
because
know.
if your stuff isn't as good as theirs to start with, everyone's just going to stop
Oh, yeah.
going.
Yeah.
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 And that's tough because even Urban Artifact needed a few years to
Figure
really
it out.
Dial it in,
find
yeah.
their way and dial it in. I knew they knew what they wanted to be, but they even tried some things that they just had to let go because it just didn't work.
And I think another interesting thing we're seeing right now too is also the breweries with multiple tap rooms and spaces. Like that's the thing now where people are adding either within the same city or different cities. Like it's been interesting seeing like Jackie O's put something up in Columbus, Little Fish put something in Dayton.
Voodoo's just about to open downtown.
Yeah,
Two locations. They're going to open downtown and one in
Westchester?
Liberty Center,
Liberty
Westchester.
Center, yeah.
Yeah.
Right there where Saunders opening.
Highwire just came in a while ago, So it's interesting to see like all these people like get different spaces. To me that makes sense as a move where it's like instead of getting into distribution because there's only so many beers you can put on a shelf at Kroger or a gas station, having physical places where people go to drink and then get beer. But that does kind of seem to be the model that's starting to evolve right now, or has been, but now is just more and more.
Right. And I think with some of those, they're putting, like Highwire is a good example. You have Highwire and Fretboard's new location, both in Factory 52. That to me is kind of a smart move because you have one entertainment complex that has multiple breweries. So you go there, you're probably not planning on just drinking at one space. You're planning on going between multiple, breweries, tap rooms, whatever you want to call them. They're supposed to be brewing at every location, whatever. But you have multiple spaces in one area, one almost mini Dora district to go to.
And if you're a local or a tourist, it's a pretty easy sell where it's like, we're going to go over here and we're going to pop over here. We'll check this out.
That's why I love the Rheingeist Brewing District. Or the Rheingeist, good God. The OTR Brewing District. You have Rheingeist. You have Northern Row. You have the Knox Joseph OTR Distillery. I always get that name wrong, but you have all of those. You have Finley Market, which has its own little beer garden there. You can jump onto the connector, go down to the banks, go to the Christian Moorline Lager House. In one little area, you can hit up multiple breweries, multiple tap rooms, and if more spaces had that, you have these tiny pockets of just multiple different places to go and experience and experiment with the beverages that they have.
Yeah.
We still have plenty of room for many, many, many more of those kind of environments.
Well, I think the fact that you have these places like you were talking about with Highwire and Voodoo and other places coming in. These are invasive species, by the way.
True. Yeah.
Brewdog.
Fuck Brewdog.
I'm with you on the fuck Brewdog.
But the fact that they're wanting to come in and they're wanting to expand here in this city means
it
that
says something.
It does say something.
It does say something for us as a craft beer town, and it's a positive thought. I don't know how it's going to work out for them, but it's definitely it means that we're a hot market, right?
And I'll also say at the same time too that still that whole thing with like new neighborhoods expand into now getting like Fable Brew Works, now getting Wandering Monsters. It's just like, all right, cool. Like there is still room to bring in new stuff, which is awesome as well.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I'm with you. I'm on pro team. Yeah, we got room.
100%.
Yeah, come on, bring on the breweries. Is there any brewery or breweries whose branding that you're super into?
I like some of the changes to the branding that Rheingeist has done recently. There's no one brewery that has, to me, kind of always knocked it out of the park because you have places that are evolving in the design that they're doing. Like the new Sabretooth label design that Rheingeist just put out. Absolutely fantastic. The original was awesome. The new one's awesome. They always do a really great job, just crisp, clean, high grain. Super simple. Westside Brewing, super simple, but you know exactly what to look for. You're in a store, you see that can on the shelf, you know exactly what brewery that's in, and that says something. I don't know. There are too many different reasons to love too many different breweries branding for me. I don't know that I can just pick one.
Variety's the spice of life.
This is very true. This is very true.
I've always been a big fan of street side stuff. Andy Souza, who does their graphic design, is fucking amazing.
I have kind of a love-hate relationship with what they do.
Oh, no.
Like I love it. It's fun, but at the same time I think it's more not love-hate, but love terrified. I am terrified that they are going to the wrong person from the wrong company is going to see what they're doing and issue they're going to sue them. They're going to do something. They're going to do something to where the mouse will come after them. And I don't know if they can afford if an issue like that happens. So it's kind of it's fun, but I'm just kind of like, oh, guys, you're so good at this. Surely you can come up with your own image.
So
you
hi,
know, it's
so hi, not a lawyer. Like I get what you're saying because I do get the idea because like I mean I have multiple cans over on my display over there in
they're
my collection.
brilliant, but they just make me so nervous.
And they're awesome and like, but like it's Star Wars. And Disney owns Star Wars.
Well, and Listerman did a lot of that too a while back. And I'm just like...
And I also love Listerman stuff.
Yeah.
And they've also done like a bunch of original artwork too.
Sure, yeah,
But like, with the street set thing, my question has always been like, okay, so if they get a cease and desist, the thing is like they've made like such a small run that it doesn't really matter. Like it's already sold before it's done. But is it a thing where it's like shoplifting at Target like for 5 years in a row where they have you on camera and they're like, hey, there's a pattern here.
Keep it exactly. Keep an eye on street side because there have been a couple times where they put out stuff from, you know, that mimics, that parodies, that, you know, whatever the legal you know, where you're just underneath that line to where it's from like the same brand that they're pulling from. And I'm terrified that one day the wrong person, the wrong something is going to bite them in the ass. And I do not want that to happen. So yes, I love it. It's fun, but every single time I'm like, oh guys, oh God, is this the run that gives them a problem that hopefully, you know, they just say, hey, you know, our bad for the 15th time. We won't do it again, even though we're totally going to do it again. So yeah, it's...
We'll see.
I don't know.
We'll see.
It just makes me too nervous. And they are so good. They have such great, you know, great artists that do that stuff. It's like, do something that's yours. That is 100% yours and not just recoloring Merlin, you know?
Well, but it also depends though, like what does the brewery want? I mean,
true.
Because there's also that too. Because you can be an artist and you can be like, hey, I want to do what I want to do, and they're like, that's great, not the vision of this,
right?
You know,
right? Sure.
Yeah.
I love it. It just makes me really nervous. So I feel I don't want to promote it because, again, not that like our podcast reaches, you know, super far to where, you know, the wrong people, you know, air quotes, could hear it and say, we are worldwide. But I just, like I said, it makes me nervous, and that's just me being overly paranoid probably. But no, there are different reasons that I love all of the local breweries' branding. Fabled is a great example. They're only doing cool crowlers, stuff. But my God, just...
Everything's cool there.
Everything's amazing.
Very cool.
Everything is so cool there.
Everything I've seen from social media has been cool.
We need to get down there, Mark. I need to take you down there.
Marco, do you have branding you enjoy? Like, or like just the general vibe of brewery locally that you are into?
I had several minutes to think about this question.
I know. Well, we went off on
While I was listening to Julia's answer, I didn't really think much about it.
As is typical.
You know what? I'm going to answer your question by not answering your question. I do not understand Hoof Hearted's labels, their branding. I don't get it. I don't like it. It's art. I get someone's creating art. None of it strikes me as maybe I'm the old guy, and that's the problem. You know, I don't get it. I don't like it. And it seems to work for them, so I'm not gonna say you should stop. But what I'm gonna say is, you know what? Maybe I'm not your consumer. And by the way, I don't drink their beer because most of everything I've seen put out is hazy IPA, and I just stay away from them. especially if it has the term lactose or milk sugar in it. But I don't get them, and you know.
So interesting point on that is a former guy who lived in Columbus. The guy who does the work is Tom Lesnar. He is an illustrator at Philadelphia. His sister is Liz Lesnar, and she used to own a series of bars and restaurants. I think still does in Columbus. And he ended up like doing stuff for Dirty Frank's Hot Dog Palace up there and some other spots.
I've heard of that.
And
yeah.
it's this thing where it's like he has a very unique art style where it's very much like this looks like a sixth grader drew this.
It's like a Dr. Katz kind of weird
but-
vibe. Yeah.
But at the same time, I automatically recognize everything I'm seeing.
Yes.
Like it's one of those weird things where it's like it's so simplistic, but at the same time, it's like
as soon as you see it, you know it's hoof-hearted.
Yeah.
Right? So I mean, they are
Yeah.
knocking it out of the park that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's weird is when you go up there, like I've only been to their kitchen in Columbus. The vibe is not that at all. Like the vibe of that restaurant brewery space is not the like weird, 6-year-old
yeah.
kind of vibe that you would see. So,
But
you recognize it. It is 100% recognizable. So.
And that's why I like his stuff. Like I like how simplistic it is, and I like that you instantly know what it is.
The weird centaurs and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff on the can. Yeah.
So Marco, we're gonna agree to disagree on this one.
That's fine. Yeah.
That's fine. I don't have that background, so it's not anything I have a connection with, and so I just, as somebody who didn't have that connection, it didn't strike a chord with me.
Yeah, and dude, trust me. Like as being like an art guy, like there's so much stuff I see where I'm like, oh, this sucks, and there's like so much stuff that I see where I'm like, I like that,
Yeah.
But I'm also very opinionated on my beers.
Someone paid how much
Yeah.
for that?
I love Masthead. I drink all like the majority. Like if I go to the
Man,
beer
those
store,
cans. Can you get a little
Right.
bit more plain?
they are
Right.
the
Well, I
plainest
mean,
cans
look at
in
that,
existence.
and I'm going to throw in Westside Brewing again. I mean, they are very clean and simple, but you still recognize them.
Yeah.
They still have something about the
Was that a
ratio of
Hallmark movie?
colors.
Was it,
Probably.
West Side, plain and simple.
I think one of the things that with cans now and the artwork on them is it becomes this thing where it's like you have to go to the extreme of making them look so cool and so detailed and such a piece of art that they stand up for anything on the shelf, or you make them like so plain and just lettering where it's just like it
Crisp
stands
and
out
clean, and
because
it's right. Like a can with just the word beer on it. As soon as you see, you know exactly what's going
beer.
on there.
Yes. 100%. Yeah. So yeah, I think we're kind of at that point with art. As we wind down here, like what do you have like yearly beer events that you like to go to in Cincinnati?
Beer, booze, bonks, boinks, binks, biscuits, bobcats, boobs, bananas, and cigars. I guess I'll throw that one in there.
I think that's coming. I think
That
that's
might
gonna
be,
happen.
yeah.
That might happen.
The one at the Foaling, Fouling, however you want to say it, warehouse that the Gnarly Gnome has done for the last couple of years. That's always top of my list. That's really the Hops in the Hangar was really cool, but I only managed to get to that 1 year. But I still
Coming
really
up at the
love
end
what
of the
they're
month.
doing. Yep. Outside of Ohio, though, the Corn Maze Beer Fest from 450
450
North.
West.
Dude, that is one of the coolest places.
It looks super
to
cool.
go. It's amazing. It is hot as fucking hell. You're in the middle of a goddamn cornfield, no shade. Though they do an amazing job of having water stations in each of the little maze openings that all the breweries are in. So you always stay hydrated as long as you're, actively looking out the coolers. But there is no shade. You have people standing like behind the rows of corn trying to stay in shade there. But it is absolutely worth the money and absolutely worth the
Sounds
drive
great
to
in
do it
town.
at least once. Yeah. But yeah, Beer Booze Bonks is probably right now my top Ohio Cincinnati beer event that every year I have to attend. As far as an in-person event and not just a season. Otherwise, beer event season's my favorite.
Well, one of the most fun hasn't happened in a few years, and I think we all understand why it hasn't happened. But Punch Out was
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
freaking
yeah.
amazing event. That event was awesome, and I believe I went 2 or 3 years. That was an amazing event. I went to Winter Beer Fest several years. It's just, I went when I was a brewer, and then also was repping the brand, which was cool because I got to meet up with a lot of people in the industry. I don't know if I would have liked it as a just casual consumer, because those lemonade stand type beer events, I don't know, those are so big. You're just getting everybody's core beer that you can get.
Yeah.
Everywhere else, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not into like the beer fest type stuff where it's like, hey, come try out what we have for the spring, and I'm like, I can literally
I can just get
yeah,
right. And
li-
also, nothing against volunteers. I know that they are essential. I appreciate everything they do. But when I go up to a beer tent, like the first, it was probably Cincy Winter Beer Fest was one of the first like big ones in Cincinnati I went to. You try talking to someone like, oh, hey, what do you know about this beer? And then you realize, oh, you don't know anything.
anything.
About. They don't know, which is, again, it's
yeah, I get
it's
it.
fine. But when you don't realize that at first, you're like, oh, well, I came here to try to learn something about the beer at this place that I'm giving a ticket
Yeah.
to, and no one can tell me anything other than what's on the little card
Right.
on the front of it. So, but I mean, again, you need volunteers for those events. I appreciate their time, their effort. They're dealing with bigger assholes than me asking if they know about the beer.
We need to
but-
make sure that marching bands and baseball teams are funded for high schools.
Exactly.
But yeah,
Exactly.
no, I feel you. I recently went to fucking Danger Wheel, and
Oh my
I'd
God,
never
I didn't go
been,
this year.
and
It is
it's the black.
amazing. It is.
It's awesome.
I don't know that I would consider that a beer event, but it is. Yeah, it is a beer event. Yeah,
They
it's-
had like a whole beer garden. They had like food trucks and stuff. It was a
Oh
blast.
yeah, it's amazing. And the later in the day it gets, the crazier those races are.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
And
yeah.
and a ton of breweries are the racing teams.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's
I
huge
need to
bragging
get
rights
there
for
one
them.
year for sure.
Yeah.
That
It was
sounds
so-
like a lot of fun.
It was so hot this past year. I'm just like, I just don't feel like going and trying to find a place to stand in the shade for hours. And
I
yeah,
like the
just-
idea of some of the
great.
different ones, like the idea of Linkfest. Even though I haven't
Oh,
been
Missing Linkfest is fun too. Yeah.
Missing Linkfest, the beer, booze, bonks, and all the other B words. I have fun at that one. I know they didn't have it this year, and I'm biased because I brewed the beer there, but the Valley Vineyards, the June Wine Festival has always been cool because it's basically like a Warren County food truck show, and then you have live music every night, and then you've got wine and beer and mead and cider, and they in years past had a relationship with the Renaissance Festival, so you'd have people running around in their Renaissance Festival attire.
The Ren Fair people like to party.
Yeah.
I did a Ren Fair episode, and I got the inside scoop on that, and I was like, oh yeah, you guys are freaks in a good way.
Yeah. A lot of fucking intense going on. I learned that from your episode. I'm like, you kind of had an idea that stuff was happening, but hearing it confirmed, you're like, okay.
It's band
all
camp.
right.
It's just
It's band camp.
It's
Yeah,
band camp
yeah.
for D&D nerds.
Yeah, absolutely.
I need to go.
Mark is like, I need to go to band camp.
No, I don't need to go to band camp.
Note to self: learn to play the clarinet.
Don't need to go to band camp. But if I should listen
But this
to that.
one time at band camp, wait, no.
Well, I've been on the property when
Mm-hmm.
delivering things, and I was like, this is what's behind the curtain.
How the sausage is made.
Right. Yeah,
Ooh.
sausages. So I like some of the newer concept of festivals, right? And I know Winter Beer Fest had like 50 West had like a 3-wheelers or something in an order.
Yeah,
I think some of these festivals that have a different component to it is probably more like what sounds interesting to me. Now, I will say that I am really interested to get back to Oktoberfest Cincinnati this year. They moved
Yes.
it back to Fifth Street, which I may have a connection with the place that just opened on Fifth Street. That you know,
Possibly
That's true.
could be.
Maybe.
Rumors are going around. People are saying.
So I'm interested to get there for that. But Oktoberfest Cincinnati, I've been to a few times, and I did support during that did during 2020. I bought the package where
Yeah,
you got the stuff
did it
sent
at
to your
home.
house.
Same, yeah.
Yeah, the Oktoberfest at home, which I think a lot of that did actually move with us from the previous house, like
Nice.
the faux suspenders and the hats and all that
The
other
yard
mess.
sign, yeah.
I think the yard sign might have made it. But anyway, so I am looking forward to going to that because some of my friends really enjoy that experience, and so we'll go. But it is sort of just a big. It's a giant festival, right? That it's giant festival vibes. It's not like going to Sonder and Friends Oktoberfest or going to some of these smaller ones around town, which I would like to make it to as many Oktoberfest celebrations around town as I can. Now I can't commit to how many I'm going to make it to, but I would like to make it to as many as I can. And
Wait, do you have Lederhosen?
no.
Are you gonna get some?
you
Are you
should
gonna
get
get some
some.
Lederhosen? I mean, you're very committed to the bit right now.
Yeah,
Like you're very
yeah.
much like I'm trying to
Yeah,
come to
I
all
don't
these
know.
places. I mean, dude. I mean, within a year, you it pays for itself.
Yeah, I don't know.
But wearing leather pants in the summer, I just
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure.
lot of
Actually,
lot of
I'm
baby
not
powder.
sure means probably not. But
Think about it for a second. Like,
Yeah,
well,
well-
well, I could wear.
You don't have to decide now.
Well,
but-
I do have gold on. I could wear compression shorts, so this could
Exactly.
work
Right.
out.
exactly.
both would be necessary.
Very much so. No, you got to powder up before you go in there with that
Yeah.
Lederhosen on.
Yeah. 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 But no, I don't think so. I don't think so.
The multiple yes, just like I'm gonna think of something right now. Gonna think of something. Yeah.
Nah.
But
Nah.
everybody, it's a great time of year, Oktoberfest season. And no, there's not seasonal creep. It comes out same time
time.
every year.
Every year.
And we always complain that it's too early every year, and that's fine.
But it's just reality of the situation.
Yeah.
You know, because it does happen every year, but then it does the thing where it's just like, look, man, if you release it now, like you're gonna have Oktoberfest beers in like fucking early December. So what do you want? Do you want it to come out
fine
sooner,
with that.
or do you want it later?
I'm fine with that. Have them year round. Just rebrand them as like your spring lager, your
I'll
spring
drink-
fest beer, whatever.
I'll drink
Same
Oktoberfest
with
in-
Bachfest. I mean, just change the branding depending on the
I'll
season.
drink
Year round
Oktoberfest in
Oktoberfest,
December.
Bachfest. Yeah.
I worked at a brewery, did that once. I don't know if the statute limitations on that.
it's fine.
I think I've
It's
heard
fine.
where
It's
in one
fine.
podcast somewhere, I think I know where that history is.
Well, what about this? Okay, so maybe not so much like yearly events, but one thing I was having for a while, and I feel like it hasn't happened in a long time, or just it's not as big as it once was like beer releases, where there would be like a Saturday morning thing.
Yeah.
People come out, they
Yeah.
get beers. You know, there's like Dark Charge Day now, but
There's still a couple of big ones, but
That's
it's
That's
not.
it. That's
yeah.
about it. That one
Yeah.
and what Demogorgon Day is about it.
Demogorgon
Demogorgon Day,
yeah.
Uh, I mean, did COVID changed all that, right?
Yeah.
So
I think it was a combination of COVID, but also breweries started to, or certain breweries started to do too many releases too close together in
Yeah.
the middle of the week, stuff to where it's like,
yeah,
yeah, you're making it limited, but you're making it too hard for people because a lot of it
Yeah.
was more about the gathering of the community, the beer shares
Yeah.
that were totally illegal, but we did them anyway.
it's definitely
but-
self-inflicted.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think I think if the model stayed sort of on the rails that it was, that when it was at its peak, it probably might have stuck. But
Yeah.
once they started messing with the formula,
Yep.
breweries around town, not they in particular, like one specifically, it's they, the collective they.
Sure.
Sorry. Once they started messing with the formula, it started to dilute itself, and
Yeah.
then COVID just totally changed everything. It was like, oh, we're gonna set up our online store, and you're gonna be able to reserve it, and then came the signing up for a streaming service or signing up for a new credit card line list of acknowledgments and things that you have to sign that you're not going to do this, you are going to do that, and you understand that after this time period, then this happens, and then it's like, what are all these rules going on? And then you just click accept by scrolling all the way down to the bottom, and then now you don't have to be there on that day at all because you have 3 days, 5 days, 7 days. You have 2 weeks to pick up whatever it is that you bought, and you don't need to stand in line anymore, which oddly enough, the grocery stores are going back to the reverse model, whereas they were all about customer service and 20 lanes ready for you, ready, open. And now it's like, no, man, check your own self out and wait in line behind 30 other people to check your own self out. If I'm going to check myself out and I've got a big grocery cart full of bags, why do I only have 4 bag sections when I've got an entire cart of bags? I went off on a thing, but the thing is,
I have a personal issue, and I want people to know about this right now.
Absolutely.
But the thing is, when you take the fact that you don't have to be there on that day out, then it just diluted it. It's there. That's why the number one thing on television is live sports.
Yes.
It's because it's appointment television. You
Correct.
have to
You
watch
have
it
to be
there.
You got to be
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yes, and that's what I was getting ready to jump in with. Was I wish we had a thing where it was like every 2-3 months there would be a brewery that would release a beer, and that was the day, and you had to be there and you come for
Yeah.
it. And hey, treat it like tailgating. What happens in the parking spot you're parked at happens. If it's not on our property, we don't mind.
What would be really fun is if the just different segments of our region would get together and decide, hey, quarterly, you split them up into quarters. Quarterly, this is North Side's beer. This is South Side's beer. The East Side, the West Side. This is the beer. We all are getting together. We're all collaborating on this beer, and we're going to release it. The release will rotate at a brewery every. This year it's for North Side, the North Side of Cincinnati, not North Side the subdivision. The North Side of Cincinnati. We're going to release it at Common Beer Company. Can you imagine if for Q1, January, all the Northern Cincinnati Mason Quadrant breweries released at tiny little Common Beer Company? The kind of rush that Common Beer Company would get and the support that they would get, and and having collaborated with all those breweries, and saying, hey, somebody's in charge of deciding if you want to make this a day, here's the bus.
I feel like
the
in a way
bus runs around.
Missing Link Fest is doing that though, because
Yeah.
all of those beers are such tiny amounts. You can only really get them at Missing Link Fest if there happen to be extras, or if the brewery happens to make stuff. Sometimes you can get them on tap at those breweries, but for the most part, whatever they make goes down to Northside. They typically sell out of almost everything that they have in kegs over the course of that day. And you almost have those, they're not in bottles. It's not a
only
packaged
thing
release.
stopping-
But you know what I mean? It's like, I feel like that and like Demogorgon Day are kind of the only real releases. And they're not even the exact same thing. But yeah, I don't think that, unfortunately, we're ever going to get back to
The only thing
pre-COVID
stopping
release
the only thing stopping
anymore.
the community from doing it, and I'm talking about the breweries, are themselves. That's it, because they could absolutely get together and decide that that's what they
Sure.
want to do, and
And I agree, the online pre-orders is incredibly convenient for me because I can't always be at a brewery at 1 p.m. on a random Wednesday.
yeah,
for
well,
a
don't
release.
make it.
But
a-
man,
it just-
but it's like that's
it's a
that's
weekend.
such an
Make it a weekend.
experience.
The north side of Cincinnati's beers are being released on this weekend in whatever January. You make it a weekend. You have the brew
Part of
bus
the
go around.
exclusivity is part of the experience.
It's and then Q2 is here, Q3 is here, Q4 is here.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing stopping them from doing it is themselves and somebody to lead the idea. That's why we don't have Cincy Beer Week anymore. It's because the people who are leading this idea aren't leading the idea
What kind
anymore.
of legalities are there of releasing?
Oh, don't
A
ask
beer,
me. Ask Mike Morgan.
right, exactly. Of saying, hey, this is, the east side of Cincinnati's quarter for a beer release. Well, if it's only at one brewery, what are the distribution laws to get said beer to be released at said location. I mean, there's a whole
As long as
huge thing. But as far as brewery specific releases, which I think is more of what you were asking about, I think the online sales were necessary during COVID. I think that they allowed more people more opportunity to get these beers, but it completely removed the community aspect of a beer release. And I really don't think we're ever going to get that back because people are now too used to being able to say, I can just sit at home or at work hitting that refresh button and hoping to get 1 or 2 bottles of, the latest family traditions from Sonder or what have you.
And I hear you, and I think when I'm interpreting this through is through the lens of like collecting and something that as you start talking about this, we're talking exclusivity, and there's tiers of that in collecting.
Sure. Oh yeah.
And I would like to see I would still like to see online ordering exist for some beers, but I would like to see individual breweries like have like a beer or 2 or maybe 3, depending on how big they are and how popular they are.
Right.
If they release quarterly or
Only in the tap room.
yeah,
Online.
yeah.
Right. 'Cause I mean, even though
1
they
day a
release,
year, 2 days a year, 3 days a year, we
Sure.
only release this. It's here. You got to come and get it.
Sure, there were some of I think the first year Sonder did the family traditions online ordering. I mean, there were beers that sold out in minutes to where that exclusivity, that, there's a chance you might not get this, that still exists within the online beer release world. But again, to me, you're removing that, you're sitting in a line of, camp chairs in front of a brewery at 6 a.m. with people that maybe you don't know, maybe you do know. And I miss that. Some places are going back to that again. Demogorgon Day is a great example. Dark Lord Day.
Dirk Lear.
But the scale just isn't the same, and I don't know that it will ever fully go back to what it once was. And that's kind of a shame.
So, final question for you two for tonight. What do you want to see going forward for Cincinnati craft brewing?
I want to see more, and not necessarily for craft brewing, but I want to see more Cincinnati craft beer niche podcasts. I know that Elijah is doing a social media thing on Cincinnati Sours, like at Cincy Sours on Instagram. I would love to see there be more podcasts about either from breweries, brewery-specific podcasts, style-specific podcasts about those styles in Cincinnati, really just the Cincinnati craft beer community. That's what I want to see more of. I think Cincinnati as a beer town is doing a great job of style variants, of trying to, opening up new places across the city, opening up second, third, more tap rooms across the city. I feel like beer-wise, Cincinnati's doing what it needs to do. Those new places are popping up, but I want the community to start flourishing and getting bigger and getting more vocal, getting more visible in the form of podcasts, social media pages, groups like, Girls Pine Out, Cincinnati chapters. I want to see more interactions between the people that love Cincinnati craft beer and getting that out and into the world so more and more people know what an amazing beer town we really are.
I feel very similarly. I think
We agree on everything. I coached him on this. It's fine.
I feel like there have to be more voices out there that want to be heard, as far as what they like or what they're passionate about Cincinnati craft beer, and we want you to feel empowered to go ahead and start and put your voice out there. Mm-hmm. And we're ready to listen and we're ready to talk about it. As far as Cincinnati craft beer itself, this is going to be a few interesting years coming up with, second and third locations for other breweries. Whoever is online trying to come on board, for them to come on board. And after that, I think it's going to be interesting to see, after what's already online, how long is it before, some of the other things happen? Does everybody stick around over the next 2, 3, 4 years, after the ones that are in planning? that say, let's say it takes them 2 years to come on board. At year 3, year 4, are there any more that are coming on board? Are we shaking out some of the, not shaking out, but are we filling out, some of the markets that seem to be underserved in this Cincinnati area, greater Cincinnati area? And what changes with that are out there? I think that we're healthy. I think that it's the stuff that's coming on board is cool, and I'm excited to see what that stuff does for everybody else. 50 West with the all that huge campus going in Mason and being right next to Penn's Mechanical, which is not a brewery but serves a lot of beer.
Sonder Tap House. I mean,
The Sonder
that's
Tap
going to
House.
be
There's
really cool.
There's stuff out there that is going to be interesting to see. And so, for beer, we've got small places putting out really cool stuff like Narrow Path. We've got Fibonacci, absolutely. So we've got small places putting out cool stuff. They really understand who they are and are here to stay. And then we've got big places that are doing big place things. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, for all those voices that think you have something to give, either audio, video, or both, put it out there and find us, and then
we'll talk about
it.
Hell yeah. I want to see beer tourism continue in the city. I want to see that grow. I want to share the city with other people, and I want to share the beers that are made here with other people. I know I get stoked to go places like San Diego, Denver, and Asheville, and I want people to be stoked to come to Cincinnati. So, all right, before we close this thing out, can you all give social media one more time and let people know where they can find you at and where they can find the podcast at?
Yeah, at Truth Beer Pod is the podcast. It's pretty much on all the social media platforms. I haven't set it up on Threads yet, but I mean, I don't know. I'll get to it. I think we have a TikTok account, but we've never done anything because I realized TikTok, you can't mute it when you open the app on your phone. And I'm sorry, but I'm not going to have that blast my face every time I open it. So we're there, but we don't do anything. Truthbeerpod.com. That's links to absolutely everything from social media, our YouTube channel where all of our episodes are, links to the podcast, Patreon link, all that good stuff. Marco's pretty much only on Facebook, but I'm Joya in the Natty on Twitter and X, whatever the hell it is now, and Instagram.
Hell yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Listener and family at Neil No on Instagram. Thank you for listening to the podcast. If you have a friend that's into Cincinnati breweries, share this episode with them, and also let them know there's an entire back catalog of over 100 episodes. They're all evergreen. Everyone features a different collection or hobby, and there's a little something for everybody. Marco, Julia, thank you for coming on the show. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Have a good night,
Great
listener.
time. You too.
Peace.
Have a great night.
Peace.